Talk to us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and give us some background on how you began your career in music.
My name is Shot Money XL. They call me the Chain on the Bike from Queens, New York. Born and raised Shadyville, Hollis, Queens for a lot of heads, or Queens Village, and that's the north side, and 50 from the south side. So I came up as a producer, producing for everybody in Queens from my side to Flushing to Queensbridge to South Side, and I started off as a producer in Queens. That was my journey.
Who were your influences coming up musically?
Oh man, my musical influences coming up. It ranges from Q-Tip, Tribe Called Quest, of course Run DMC, LL Cool J, Marley Marl, the whole Juice Crew, Public Enemy. I mean everything that was popping at that time. I was influenced by EPMD, Kim and Eric B. You know what I'm saying? Everything, Coochie Rap, everything coming out of Queens, Kid and Play, Herbie Lovebug, Salt and Pepper. The whole Queens was just coming with it so hard that even when I just stepped out of my house to walk past Hollis and go to elementary school, you'll see Jam Master Jay or Run DMC in a Benz driving down Hollis and just I'm like, wow, look at that bro in a Mercedes Benz just cruising down the street on my way to school. So from day one, just being influenced by hip hop and having the video music box channel and all these hip hop videos that you was able to see when you go home after school. That was the whole lesson of bringing me into hip hop, man. Just being surrounded by it. Born and birthed into it, Hollis, Queens. One of the biggest areas of Queens. Started with Russell Simmons to Run DMC to the Afros to Jam Master Jay to Def Jam. Everything started right there where I grew up, man. So just knowing that those brothers lived in the same houses, the same area, drinking the same water line as me, that was enough influence for me to know and feel that I could do it too. For real.
When you got started, what did you set out to achieve in music?
When I first got started, my first goal, honestly, I was in jail when I was 16, and the first thing I ever did when I got out of jail was say I was going to start rapping. So, literally, I went to the studio. I didn't have a producer, but I knew that I had some samples and I had some break beats, and I made the engineer put it together for me. And after he put it together, I made my first song. It was like a dedication rhyme, like something that I was influenced from back in the days in Queens. So I was shouting out to everybody in my neighborhood and bigging up the names of all the street heads, all the wild that was doing crazy shit. And my boy was like, yo, that beat is fire. You know what I mean? My raps was alright, you know what I mean? A little mumble rap, you know what I mean? But, for the most part, that was my first introduction to, yo, wait, I just made that beat. So after that, I was like, I gotta get equipment. I gotta get equipment. And then everybody else around my neighborhood was rapping, but nobody had beats. So for me, it was like, that's gonna be the lane. So I kept trying to rap. And then my boy 6'2", who featured on Salt and Pepper Shoot, was like, yo, Sha, your beats is dope. I think you need to focus on making beats because you could do something here. And when he told me that, it kind of sunk in. Like, I was like, all right. And I was in this group with my homeboy, Willie Bowe, and I kind of just left it alone. And I just started producing for everybody. DJ Clue was popular in my neighborhood. He had this rap on his mixtape called P Dap. I was producing all his records, and then I just started, targeting everyone through Hollis, Queens, going through the north side, going to the south, everywhere I could go in Queens where I found somebody that was dope. I was trying to get him my beats, and that's how we got it started.
It's good to have a friend that's, honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, nah, you need that, man. That friend telling you that you don't want to hear, but you gotta listen. Sometimes it's advice you don't want to hear, but it's the truth. But I'm thinking I could be a rapper, but at the same time, I was a mumble rapper, so they would have been killing me right now.
You would have killed it right
I
now.
would have been,
Yeah,
yeah.
you nailed it.
ATL ain't got shit on me, yo.
In Queens, one of the early things you set out to do was work with all the flagship artists. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for my goal, and this is kind of crazy because to have a plan and be able to execute it at this young age, it's like, this is a young visionary. I didn't even know that that's what I was going to become. So my goal was like, look, everybody in Queens, let's find them. And it started out with like me being on street team for Trackmasters. I was doing Nas' street team for It Was Written in '96. And while I was on the street team, I was handing out the It Was Written books, and I had my beat tape. This is before CDs. I had my beat tape on me. And when Nas was doing a show at the theater in Harlem on 125th Street with Biggie Smalls, Little Kim, everybody was performing there. When he got off stage, he was walking through the crowd. He saw the street team. When you're on the street team, you get some privileges. So I was able to be a little bit backstage. I was able to be by Nas. He saw that we was representing him, so he gave us love. And standing right next to him was Cormega. And Cormega was his manager at the time named Biz. And they saw me representing QB, doing what I was doing for Nas. And I said, yo, I make beats. And I gave him the beat tape. And on that beat tape was Angel Dust. And that was my first placement, my first hip hop check. That was my first, like, all right, this is a real legit rapper who's about to make it. And he signed the Violator. Chris Lighty signed him. And Chris Lighty, rest in peace, he gave me my first check for $2,500 for Angel Dust. And that was the beginning for me to see that I'm now from Shadyville, but I'm now tapping in with Queensbridge. And then after that, I tapped in Flushing and started rocking with Royal Flush. So now it's like, all right, now I'm going to do everything. All right, I got Queensbridge, I got Flushing, I already got my hood. What's popping in Southside? You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, I was an intern for Def Jam. So with that, I was under Julie Greenwald, Heidi Skushler, and working in the marketing department because I went to NYU, which got me into the internship because in the labels, you got to be in college to get a real legitimate internship. And I was in the office doing that, pick up phone calls, nothing real work, but there was this room called the artist room, the artist lounge. And it was this circle room right on Varick Street at 160. And inside of it, that's where the artists go smoke, watch videos. They'll lounge while everybody's working. They could be in their own zone and nobody interrupt them. And you can't smoke. None of that was going on. So you see Method Man in there, everybody going there, Onyx. And at the time, Jam Master Jay was in there. And I would sometimes just open the door and stick my head in. And I seen him by himself. I said, holy, that's Jam Master Jay. And he was on the phone by himself. So he put down the phone. He was like, what up? I said, yo, I had 5 seconds. And I always knew I had this prep thing with me as a younger. I was like, yo, if I got 5 minutes to talk to someone, what I'm going to say? So within that 5 minutes, I always said to myself, I'm going to be able to say some that's going to make them with me. So in that 5 minutes, I mentioned I was from Hollis, Queens. I mentioned I was a producer. I mentioned I was a fan of everything he did, like everything. And he was like, yo, play some beats, man. So he let me play beats for him. And from that moment on, he called Randy Allen, which was his partner. And Randy Allen did all of the extra, like, time with me and then kind of brought me into Jam Master Jay. And that's when I started getting under the JMJ umbrella through Jam Master Jay and Randy Allen. And that's what started the whole real introduction to the next level, what got me here right now.
So you kind of alluded to it already of handing the beat CD to Nas, but talk to us more about your biggest project you had worked on.
Yeah. So my first release was Cormega Angel Dust, and it had Havoc on the hook. And when everyone heard it, because, I was Mobb Deep influenced, Havoc was like East Coast Dre. Like, you couldn't tell me he wasn't the best one for Queens doing it at the time. So when Havoc was on the hook, everybody thought Hav did the beat. So everybody was like, yo, that was fire. But when they found out I did it, they was like, wait, you got that sound too? I was like, yeah. So from that moment on, that kind of opened the door for me to be able to work with, other people that was under Jam Master Jay, like Sweet Tea, a.k.a. Sugar. I did a record for her, and then Onyx had the other groups that was underneath them, and Joe Sinister that was signed to Jam Master Jay. He was crazy, man. But I had to deal with all kind of different artists that was just coming up, and then the ones that was already making it. But that was the introduction to let people know that he made beats and you could listen to it. And then I started working with DV Alias Christ, and who was a part of Smooth the Hustler, and then just kind of networking within whatever I can get to as a street team or as a Def Jam intern. Whoever I met, I kind of just connected with as a producer, and then it just started from there. Yeah.
Okay, we got the question, when did you first hear about 50? So I'm assuming it all ties into that.
Yes. Yep. So Jam Master Jay, the king, best DJ of all DJs, the king of hip hop. Man, just when I met him, it was in a moment like Run DMC. You couldn't tell me wasn't the most stylish, the most innovative artist in hip hop. And knowing everyone took their style from how he dressed and his whole aura, he was a street dude and you could feel it. He was a real one. Randy, the whole squad, they was real. So you was loving that part, and they was from my hood. So when they knew that I was from Hollis, they took me in. Even though I was more down by Springfield, they was like, yo, come, you rock with us. Now, they made me do things that like Puffy would make somebody walk the cheesecake and this person go get coffee, they'll make me sit in the car for a few hours. He had a Land Rover, no, some kind of a Range Rover, a Land Rover, something, green car, truck. And instead of him paying $30, $50 in parking, he'll make me sit in the car so the meter lady couldn't give a ticket. So I'm sitting in there for hours just so he didn't have to pay nothing. And that was my internship. And then sometimes he'll pull off and then Russell will pull up. One time I sat in Russell's car, and this was like some ill expensive Bentley, what I don't even remember what it was, Rolls Royce at the time. And I was sitting there just doing an internship, and then Russell's driver was like, yo, you could get out, man, get out. But JMJ was like, nah, he's good for that. He's good. So I got tight with them just doing awkward shit like that. And then eventually they took me to Queens where they had a studio on Rosedale. And in Rosedale, we would go in the studio, which was in the basement, and they would be playing Lost Boys. They'll be playing Onyx, Sweet Tea, all the things that he was working on at the time. And this one particular day, we was down there. He was running through records, and he played this record to hit. And I heard that shit, I was like, yo, who is that? Because this is brand new. Nobody ever heard him. I never heard 50, but I knew who he was, but didn't know that was him. I knew who he was based on his street activities, not even knowing that he was a rapper. And all my homies from Van Buren used to talk about this kid Boo Boo and all the shit he used to do. So when I heard the record, I was like, yo, this is different. He's not yelling. Everybody else on other songs is yelling. Their tones was different, more energy. He had a monotone. Wasn't like Nas, wasn't like Mace, but it had that cut to it. I was like, yo, Jay, this kid, this the one. I want to work with him. He was like, huh? He ain't even knowing. I was like, nah, that's the one. He was like, you want to meet him? I said, yeah. Literally the same day, not even 30 minutes later, because Fifth lived right off the Conduit, and Rosedale is off the Conduit. So he went, hopped in his truck, picked 50 up, came back, called Randy, told him come outside. Me and Randy walked outside. I seen this kid walking out his truck. He had 5 quarters in the shape of a cross. And he walked out, and he had that aura energy, and I just walked up to him, and that was the introduction through Jam Master Jay. Introduced me to 50, man. That day, to this day, man, think was a blessing, man, because we straight off of that. And we connected immediately. And he saw that I was on it, and I knew people that he knew from Van Buren and shit like that. And then I started giving him advice away from production, like, yo, you need to do this and do that. And then I would have my truck. I'd go pick him up, take him to the city, take him to this DJ. You know what I mean? So it started off really well. And then he left Jam Master Jay, but I still stayed there. I did this single for Sweet Tea, and I was producing, and I was doing things with Peter Thomas, How Can I Be Down? I was just doing all kind of stuff through Jam Master Jay. And then they started to fold, but Fifth started to move on. But I kept staying within the Def Jam circle, but keeping my ties, which got me close to Chris Lighty. And all the other stuff that I was doing simultaneously while I was meeting with 50. I didn't record a record with him or nothing. It wasn't me even as a producer, even though I liked him. We didn't even record a record under Jam Master Jay wing. I was taking him around like, yo, meet this DJ or do this, you know what I mean? And eventually, after he left, when he got to Trackmasters, that's the first time I got to do a record with him. A little bit shortly before that, first song I ever did with Fifth was at Black Hands Entertainment Studio, and it was You Ain't No Gangster, and it ended up on the Get Black Gangster soundtrack. So that was like him hearing my beats, and he was just combing through it, and he was like, yo, put that one up. And the engineer pulled it up, and he cut the record right there in the studio. First song with him, I was blown away. E-Money Bags walked in, and it was just a thug congregation. It was wild in the studio, and Fifth did his thing. And I was like surrounded by some wild and gangsters and shit. I'm from the streets, but these was really for the streets. They was on a whole nother level of energy. So I'm just trying to make music with them. He saw that, and he was like, yo, I f with you. And then he saw I was connected with everybody, so we just kept building from there. Everybody started bigging him up because he was on some gangster. Now, if you count the amount of records that he put, What Up Gangsta, If You Ain't No Gangsta, he got a lot of gangster records. So that was his word at the time. And that was our first record. And it went off on the soundtrack. People started playing it. And he didn't even call me. That was before I was Shy Money. I was Shy Self at the time. So if you hear it on the beginning, it was like Shy Self. He says my name on it and everything. And that was it. And I did that on the house. Didn't ask nobody for no money. I was just trying to get on. And Chaz did that, took it. 50 was running with him. And that was the beginning of me and him getting started making music right there. That was it. And after he left Chaz Williams, he went on to Trackmasters, and that's where we met again. And that's when it really started. and that's the next chapter.
Talk to us a little bit more about building your relationship with 50 and your belief in him.
So now my belief in 50 came when after he left Jam Master Jay, 98 going into 99, he goes up to Bearsville, and Corey Rooney, he meets with Corey Rooney, and he sends him up there to work with track masters, Polk and Tone, Kirk Gowdy, LES, all the producers they had under the wing. Now Bearsville was a place in upstate New York where they had these cabins, and you would stay in the cabins, sleep at night, and during the day, you got multiple studio rooms. You got Allure in this room, Nature in this room, Nas in this room, 50 in this room. Will Smith was even there. Slick Rick was there. They had all kind of celebrities coming to work with Trackmasters, was one of the biggest hip hop producers at that time. And how I got up there was coincidental because I was a neighbor of Steve Stout, and I was always asking him to try to put me on, and he always gave me a hard time trying to help me, even though I was on Nas Street Team, everything. He didn't believe in me as a producer. But this one time I pressed him hard enough for him to call Polk, and we was in the kitchen at his crib, and he called Polk, and I remember this call because he said some that pissed me off. He was like, yo, I got this Haitian kid, and I know you're Haitian, so you're going to like it. He's a producer. And I was like, well, I just got to be a Haitian kid, bro. Like, so he said that to Polk, and Polk took to it because I was Haitian because he Haitian. So he looked out for us, though, and Polk said, send him up. So he was like, go by yourself. Don't go with nobody. You know, I always want to have the homies with me. But I went up there, took my MPV. I went up there, not knowing I was going to know anyone there. Heart beating, walked in the room that day. Like, damn, what this about to be like? And when you walk through the studio, there's this big window. And as you walk through, you're walking past it, and I'm looking to see if I know anybody in the room. And the first person I see that I knew was 50 Cent. And I went like this, yo. I didn't know he was up there. I didn't know he was at Trackmaster. I didn't know none of that. And he saw me, he was like, and we already had the record, and that was it. I didn't work with nobody else the whole time. I didn't care. I didn't care who was there. It was me and him. We shared the same cabin. I would go get some shorties from New York. My homegirl Jane Blaze, who was an artist, she'll bring some of her friends. So I brought a vibe to the crib after that. So he liked that too. You know, even though he had a shorty, but we was chilling, you know what I'm saying? So I brought that energy. And I had my own truck, so I was there. Yo, you need to ride back to Queens, I'll take him back. He'll go work. But this is the part that really blew my mind about him. This is what made me know he was going to be different. Because not only did we do, I did the title track, Power the Dollar, during that time there, that 2-week stay he had there. But within 2 weeks, I watched other artists not even make one song in a week. This dude was doing 2 to 3 songs a day. At the end of the 2 weeks, he had 38 records and more. He was done like 2 songs a day, and I never seen nobody do that. And I'm watching everybody's sessions and seeing what's popping, seeing Nature take forever to get a song out. I'm like, yo, this is different. I've never seen nobody do this. And he was like, yo, and he told me as he was finishing, yo, if they don't sign me, I got 38 records by them. Somebody gonna sign me. And sure enough, they heard them, and it was over. He didn't leave. He was with Trackmasters, and that's how he started with them. Signed to Columbia, and that's where How to Rob and everything was to come after that. And that's when I knew this kid was the truth, man, because I never seen nobody do that. For real.
Work ethic crazy, man.
Yeah, nah, he's nuts, man. I give him that, bro.
Yeah, I remember Columbia gave him or Trackmasters gave him like a 2-week window, to deliver his album. So he just knocked
He did
out.
it.
Yeah,
He did it.
crazy,
That February, it was like February or March of that year.
Yeah.
What was it, 99 or some shit? Yo, man, he killed that, man.
That album is. I'm still upset that it hasn't been officially released.
Yeah. That's right, me too.
Signing Columbia.
So parts of that album actually became Guess Who's Back. So we took records that he did during that time, as well as after he got shot, he did a few new records. You was the first record he did after him getting shot. He went to Clark Kent studio and recorded that record. So we took about half of the new songs that he was preparing after he got shot with me, took the Clark Kent record, and we took the best records off of Power the Dollar, and that's what Guess Who's Back is.
Yeah. It got listed as like a compilation too.
Yeah. Yep.
Talk about your time with 50 Cent at Columbia Records and the energy and atmosphere during those days.
Yeah, so at the time when he was at Columbia, man, I would spend a lot of time with him in the studio. He worked at Hit Factory a lot. Was for me, it was amazing because that was a beautiful studio, professional. So I never seen nothing like it. And he had like the team from Trackmaster there. Shout out to Rich Nice, who was his A&R. And I would just sit in the room, watch LES and them work with him when he did Lord Forgive Me, and just watch him cut these records. And this is where me not realizing I was turning into a manager and doing other things because I was an intern at Def Jam. I had a lot of connections, so I'd be like, "Yo, let's go to this studio, meet with this producer or DJ," and whether it was Stretch Armstrong or whoever at the time, he would come. And one time he brought me to the studio. Nori's there, Punch, Wordsworth, AL, a few other rappers was in the room, and he was just going in and bars. Everybody was rapping, and they captured that footage. There's old school footage of that, and I would just be the man in the background there. He was with Nori. Nori's filming the street documentary, E-Money Bags, all the Queens gangsters was there. The energy was dark, bro. It was crazy. Fifth would take me there. I'm just right there. He was like, nah, Shot, stay in the background. He always had me in the back, but I was there with him. He had his homies with him. So he had the killers with him. I was just there on the time making a connection and just being around him, just learning that, this is what we do. We move around. We outside. At the time, it wasn't the term, but we was outside moving and shaking. And, through that whole chapter, I was realizing that it was more than just making the music, because I was learning from Kurt Gowdy, learning from LES, learning from Rich Nice, being in the studio, nice Hit Factory, big atmosphere, amazing vibes. And I was learning the levels of frequency that Trackmasters had it on, because he was like, yo, that drum sound dusty. You need to get some better drums and poking them. Their drums was amazing. So they actually, my whole thing, if you ask me, Trackmasters was a big influence for me in making music, because they took it to a whole nother level, man. The way they made their music, and 50 with them that was a chamber where he learned his excellence and made the best records and got him ready for what he was about to do next. So that era was more of a learning era, not even a producing. I only did Power to Dollar at that time. So we're just moving and shaking through the industry, meeting people and running around the city. One time we was driving to Hit Factory from Queens. He was in the back of my MPV, and he would listen to Beanie Siegel a lot. And Beanie had this one song where it was like probably 60 bars straight where he was spazzing. And it just came out. He said, you see that? That's why they listening to him, like he going in. But I got something better than that. I'm about to shoot this concept. So me and Pat, we driving, we going in the studio, whatever. And he started rapping, and he started rapping How to Rob. And I'm like, yo, what the f is that? He was like, yo, I'm about to lay this shit. And yo, he went in, sure enough. And I didn't hear it until it was done. When I heard that with the Mad Rapper, I was like, yo, what the f is this? Because his voice so perfect, cuts through, you hear every word, and the beat was fire, and he just went and did that after he was already, like, everything with him was premeditated. He really thought songs out. So a lot of his best records were the ones that he thought even before he went to the studio, and then he laid it. And that record was one of those where he was writing for a few days, like leading up to it, and when he got in there, it was just to spit it out, because he already memorized the flow, his cadence, and everything. And that time while he's recording that How to Rob is going, everybody's talking, yo, what the who? And he got Jay-Z to say his name. He done hit some nerves, right? So then he did Your Life's on the Line. Now when I heard that, I was like, yo, not only is he going in, this beat is hard. This beat was crazy. At the time, everybody was sampling. This is the first non-sample beat with the drums and the programming. Shout out to Terrence Dudley. I never heard a beat like that. I was like, yo, who did this? And he was like, this Terrence Dudley kid. It was like a nerdy, it wasn't no street dude at all. So when I was like, yo, this is crazy, yo. So I went to the video shoot. He had the whole crew. He was in downtown Brooklyn, like by the bridge. And he was under there. He had his whole squad there, and he was shooting a video. I'd just be around him. And when I heard Your Life's on the Line, I was like, yo, this man is not playing. But that honestly sent the vibration where you could feel that somebody was going to be mad, because he was going in on that shit, man. And that's when I started realizing Fifth was not no joke, man. And that shit started going up, and everyone heard that. It was crazy. It was on. It was on. He started a war with that record.
50 was working with Destiny's Child, getting ready to release the music video for that track, but then 50 Cent gets shot. How did you learn about it?
Back in that time when he just finished Power to Dollar and he was preparing, I heard the album and I heard that Destiny's Child record. I said, holy shit, this is a hit. He was like, yeah, I'm going to shoot this video. and I could have sworn he was going to shoot it in Mexico or somewhere nice and tropical, or Florida. So he was getting ready, getting in shape, and he was getting ready to fly in that April. It was around April that time, and it was leading up. So there was just a timeline like, this is going to change your life. When you shoot this video, it's over. He didn't make it to that date because he got shot. And when he got shot, everything changed. Those records got shelved, and the whole vision of what was going to happen got paused. And that was the part where, because even when he got shot, I'm literally in Queens. I had my first son. He was about 10 months. We're driving in my Tahoe. Steph Love is on the radio, Hot 97, and she announced that he got shot. And I'm from Queens. So when you know Queens, you know Mary Immaculate or Jamaica Hospital. And I know he ain't going to Mary Immaculate, so I went to Jamaica Hospital. I pull up there, son in my hand, see his grandmother, every aunts, everybody there crying, Kev, everybody in his whole hood or whoever was knowing they were there. And I'm like, yo, I couldn't really do nothing because you can't go see him. It's going down. So I just wanted to let him know I was there. I spoke to his grandmother, and I had his number, 718-528. I know the number by heart still to this day. And I would call after, even knowing he couldn't talk, but I would ask his grandma, how he doing, how he doing, how he doing. And then it took about 6 months from that time. He had to rehabilitate, restructure his life, move to PA, reset up his whole thing because they tried to kill him and it didn't happen. So clearly, you know, and even when he was shot, he was handcuffed to the fucking, to the hospital bed. Like, he was also treated as a criminal too. So he was going through too much shit. Same time, the best part of that, learning even forward, Corey Rooney sent security to keep him safe. And I remember Glenn was there. I remember seeing him, like, oh, this big white boy there. And he's like holding him down. And Corey paid for that, and he was making sure nobody came to finish the job because that's what they would do back then. And from that moment, it was like, all right, is he going to be all right? And it was like his neck and all that. I'm like, damn, is he going to? But I just stayed in touch, just kept calling. And it took over 6 months. It was either September, October, and he finally called me back. And that's when I was like, what? It's back. And that's when everything started from that moment, man. But that shot took him down, man. He almost died. I'm glad he didn't, bro.
Like I said, man, if he would have died, I would not be here.
For real.
Yeah, that influence.
Yeah, nah, that was crazy, man.
Yeah, you mentioned the line about Humpty Dumpty. They put Humpty Dumpty back together.
Yeah, man. So you know that famous line, man, because he said it, man. He's always the guy that say some shit that you remember, man. He said a few lines that I always remember, man. He said, when he called me, he was like, yo, Shy, they done put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Like, yo, 50? Like, what? Yo, this sounded different. So I didn't know it was him. His tone changed everything. But when he said that, he had that little joke part to it. His sarcasm was it was dark, man. And it was like, yo, what? I was like, yo, son, I got my new crib. I was 24. I just left Queens. But that whole time I had brought a new crib, like June, right before after he got shot or whatever. And I was like, yo, I'm out of Queens. I'm out the hood. Nobody know where I live. I got a studio I'm building in the basement. My boy Kyle Miller put up the wall and shit. We had everything set up. I said, yo, whenever you can, man, just pull up. And, yo, nobody will know, man. We can record whatever you want to do. And it took some time because he still was getting it together. So at that time, he actually connected with Clark Kent first, did the F You record. He connected with some other dudes from Brooklyn, DJ, man, I can't remember Spin, but they was from Brooklyn and part of Clark's crew. And he did some records with them. One of them came out on the mixtape, and then he kind of didn't feel that because Clark was connected to too many people, and he didn't know one phone call could change the energy, or someone could pop up. So he didn't want to put himself in a position where people knew where he was. So one day, he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna come check your studio out," and he came with his crew, and he took the Long Island ride out, 30 minutes outside, 15 minutes outside of Queens, and he saw it. It was suburbs, nobody. And he was like, "It's you?" I said, "Yeah. I smoke, no parents upstairs. It's me. We could just work. However long you want to work, let's work." And from that day on, he came to my house Monday through Friday, from the morning to the night. He never really worked late night sessions. And he would work 5 days a week for about a year and a half straight. And we did everything from that moment on. Every mixtape, Get Rich or Die Trying, about half of that album was done before we even delivered it to M and Dre. And we recorded every mixtape. We finished everything there. Everything was recorded there. And that was the beginning of everything.
Talk to me about the Pat Viella conversation. Pat was like, you guys were at a barbershop, and this was right after Biggie died, and he asked, who's going to be the next guy? And you were like, 50 Cent.
Okay, yeah. So my boy Pat Viala, he used to go to 134 and God Brewer get this haircut, right? And I'm like, bro, we from the north side. Like, what, yo, you know Fifth live around the corner. So we start talking as I pick him up. And he was like, yo, who going to be the next biggest one? I mean, Biggie just died. All this was happening. I was like, yo, honestly, it's this that live right around the corner right here. 50 Cent, bro. He the next one. And I would say that to so many people, they would look at me and be like, yo, get the out of here, bro. And when I go to my side, north side, it was like, yo, bro, we from Hollis, bro. We don't with the south side. Get the out of here. My boy, I ain't gonna even say his name, man. Me and him still ain't speak to this day because he was like, nah, bro, we ain't with them. Get the out of here. And he didn't see it, but I seen it. Fifth was real. His music was every vocal, every cut. Like he would cut a song, it will be complete. He didn't have to go back. He didn't practice it. He didn't have to. He would cut every record, and it wasn't a million takes. It was a few takes, a few punches, done. Hook, done. Never seen nobody do that. So for me, I seen the process, and then I seen him getting into this space where he was doing a lot of exercise in between verses, doing push-ups. I'm like, bro, man, eat a cheeseburger, smoke a blunt. This don't want to do nothing. No smoke, no drink, nothing. So I'm like, this is different. This is different, bro. And then he would start reciting things to me, and like he always had premeditated thoughts, and then he would walk around with this little small pocket Bible, and I'm like, how's this thug walking around with a Bible in his back pocket? Like this don't add up to me. But he had this religious energy to him too, where he was in fear of God. So I was like, I can respect that. You know what I'm saying? So, but it just was crazy. But at the same time, I just knew he was different. Because I worked with a lot of rappers in Queens, and I knew all of the energies. You got Royal Flush, I f with Flush. Like, he'll take 50 to the Coliseum, buy everybody Avorexes. And I was like, oh, he could be something. But his work ethic was kind of slow. Mike Geronimo, same shit. You know what I'm saying? And then Nas was going through his breakups with Cormega and what was the guy? Nature. I was about to say Future. Nature Nature and Future. Why does that sound the same? But Nas, that was going on over there. But I was like, this is gonna be different for Queens, and he had every element to let me know that he was the real deal. And I told Pat that day, this guy right here is the one. And that stamped in him, stamped in Chris Lighty's head, stamped in my man Boom's. Everybody that I told him, they remembered. It was like, yo, you said that before everybody. And I said, I told y'all. I fucking knew it, yo.
Talk a little bit about the moment you guys realized you could build a buzz with mixtapes without the label.
So after he got shot, he started witnessing a lot of people turn their back on him because he just signed a deal, publishing. He got a little advance and everything. Same time he did that, he got word back that, hey, we're not moving forward. Like, these executives became scared now. So where he was in the studio and you see what happened where they hit the lights and stabbings and all of that, nobody wanted to be in that room no more. Because I remember being in the studio one time with him, and Will Smith was there, Trackmaster was there, Shorty was there. He had his homies from Queens. He always brought one homie with him that either had the pistol or a knife on him. And this homie was a thief. Because we all in the studio, and this girl's like, where's my pocketbook? Where's my pocketbook? So everybody started looking at Fifth and us. And I'm like, I ain't on that time. I'm trying to get on. So Fifth knew that immediately he had to figure it out. So he started looking all over the place. And eventually he found the fucking pocketbook in the bathroom behind the toilet stool. And his homie took everything out but put the pocketbook there. So he immediately got to his homie, started hitting him. Yo, he stripped this in the studio in front of all of us. This ran out the building, Hit Factory, in boxes. After 50 hit him, this dude had to get on the train, leave, and Fifth wanted to let everybody know it's not me, but I won't allow that. Even if it came from me, he wouldn't allow that because he knew that after a while that you ain't gonna be welcome here. You got Will Smith right here, bro. Like, Trackmaster's doing all kind of big, and he brought that. So, like, that energy even kind of started even before that. So they knew that he had that darkness with him, and they was like, all right, let's just drop him. So that just kind of, the shooting just was the rap, because it was other shit he was doing before that let them know that, this guy's too much to handle in the studio. So now the shooting happens, Everybody know. They start hearing what happened, who it could possibly be. They ain't finished. They coming back to finish it. You want to be in the studio with them when they trying to come back? You want to be in your office when someone comes shoot it up? No, nobody wanted parts of it. And these executives at the time, they was making millions of dollars. They were coming up. They ain't trying to get caught up in nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so everybody was like, yo, you're gone. And Corey Rooney was the only one part of that team at Columbia at the time that stuck to him with loyalty. Gave him a place to stay, crash at his crib in Brookville. Here, you got a room right here until you get right, until you figure it out. So he didn't have to go back to his grandmother's house until he figured out he going to his baby mama's house in Pennsylvania. He figured some shit out, and Corey helped him, gave him little security, bread, whatever he needed to kind of just get right. Then he kind of restructured his shit. But they dropped him. And when they dropped him, he had no one else to call and nobody else, because at that time, the industry is like, if you strength, you could call somebody, you could blackball them. So, you know, the other haters, they were strengthening up. So Trackmasters was his level entry. He didn't have anyone else to call at that time, so he had to figure that shit out. So that's what made him take even further steps back and pull back from everyone. And that's deep. And I watched them drop him. And I think they literally did it while he was on the hospital bed. Like, yo, you're gone. You're done. We're not going forward. So that was up. Since how to rob that he knew how to market through music. The words he said, the way he made the records was his marketing tool. It wasn't a poster, it wasn't a picture, it wasn't an image, it was nothing. It was what he was saying on the records. And if he took a LL record and did it over, You Should Be Here. If he took anything and did it over, he made it where you loved it even more and appreciated the song, plus liked his version. So you didn't hate the song, you liked it even more, and you liked his version. So his marketing tool was his music. And then it became his story. Like Ghetto Quran, all the name mentioning. If you hear him, when he say these names, these are real gangsters, and these are people that make like, oh, you shouldn't be saying that. So people be like the average rapper be like, nah, don't say that in the song. That motherfuckers are still here. They'll come. So they wouldn't say that. He was the first one doing that. Then he would do that for the rappers and How to Rob. So you talking about gangsters, you talking about rappers, then he talking about everything. So he just like he had no limits. So his music was his actual marketing tool. And then one of the records we cut before it didn't make it to Get Rich, we made it to Guess Who's Back, 50 bars. And on that, he's talking about Haitian Jack, he's talking about other shit. So he was like, hold on a second, bro. You don't want to talk about this guy, but he would do that constantly, and people would be listening to it. Streets loved it, absorbed it. He didn't have to. We didn't. This before the internet. Yo, DJ Enough, Doo Wop, Clue, Cutmaster C, Absolute, Envy. Everybody just started playing his shit, and it just became the marketing tool in itself because he was saying people wanted to hear, but nobody else was doing it, and it just his music was marketing, man. That's all I could say, man. He did it by his music, nothing else, man. And then you started seeing him working out. And he was in the Chubby Kid No More. He was getting into shape, but that came after. It was really his music and his story, and just knowing this guy got shot 9 times, and then now he's doing this. Now he's still saying this. Wait, he's still popping. Hold up, he ain't fearless, man.
You were mentioning how 50 doesn't care at all. So what were your thoughts on 50 when he dropped the F You song immediately after coming back?
When you drop, just hearing that, for one, I thought Primo did the beat, right? So I was just hooked on that beat. Then I heard Clark Kent did it. Then I hear I don't give a f who you are. And then he just got shot. And he's still going. So you're like, yo, this is crazy, yo. So you like, hold on a second. Do I want to stand next to him? Yo, my cousin was like, yo, they're going to kill this motherfucker. You need to, yo, what are you doing next to him? He didn't want me around him. He was like, yo, get away from him. Everybody was like, nah, bro, this dude is going too far. But those lyrics was from his heart. He was in that pain. That was in him. And he was giving it in real life, pouring it on a record. And that's what music really is, those real emotions of real life. That's why it really everyone could feel it, because he wasn't just telling a lie, telling some story, doing what these average rappers are doing now. He was telling you some real going on in his life, and he said, I don't give a who you are, you. And he really meant that. He don't give a who you are. So this is me learning who he is still, but not realizing how heartless this man is, man. And when you hear these names and everybody's calling out and what the lines he's saying, you're like, he killed that record. Line for line, bars for bar, flow for flow. That record was it, and that's was like everybody's like, yo, more. We want some more. What's more? What's going on? And that's when he came to the crib because he couldn't be in Clark Kent studio with all these different Brooklyn heads, and he didn't like that. So he wanted it to be his crew and no one else. He was in control. And with me, I was shy self, so I wasn't around a whole bunch of people. He come to my house, it's just me. So he had control over that. So it was him and his crew with just me, and we recorded and recorded. After you, he knew every record after that, 50 bars, Follow Me Gangster, everything was about him talking that shit that was going on, and everybody just soaked that up, man. It's crazy. So initially, when he came to my house, after his mouth was wired, you know, I heard his voice was different. The tone was different, and I had like ADAT machine. I was just learning how to record vocals. I was really just a producer at the time, but he wanted to cut these records, so I had my ADAT. I would have my boy Kyle Miller, who had another ADAT, come bring his. So was able to have about 16 tracks, so he could do his backgrounds and all of that, and I would just have a 2-track of the track. And initially, it was like my beats, like, 50 bars and Bad News. The first G-Unit record ever recorded was my beat, Bad News, which ended up on the soundtrack. So was Follow Me Gangsta, ended up on the DMX Jet Li soundtrack. And that year, he started bubbling up and putting records in places that were kind of buzzing for him. He would want to do freestyles. And I'd be like, yo, I don't have that instrumental. He was like, yo, I don't care. Play the vocals. You should be here. And you could hear the guy still singing in the background, the song still playing, but he rapping over it. And we would just have to edit it on an MP, dump it in, and he just rapping over it. And I'm like, yo, let me call my boy from Universal, Dino. He might have the instrumental. And then we started getting that, and I started plugging that part. And then he was like, yo, we're going to take this Mobb Deep record, bump that. We're going to do that. So he just had a vision for everything. We cut records. Some of them are freestyles. And then initially, before it was a mixtape, those freestyles was like, yo, send this to Clue, send this to Envy, send this to Doo-Wop, send this to Enough, send this to Cutmaster C. And that Cutmaster C one, that record played me for a hoopty and I bought you. That one right there, he performed that on tour. Everyone loved that shit over the State Property beat. I found a part at the end of that record where I could loop it. And I looped it off of that State Property album. And he made that song better than this. Because I never listened to their song after that. And I'm telling you, he had all these ideas, man. And he would like, take that. Just bring it, or I'll find it, get it, loop it. And he'd just cut these records nonstop. We doing 2-3 songs a day. And if he stopped, he's like, yo, I want to introduce you to my boy, Tony Yayo. Tony Yayo come in, yo, I want to introduce you to my boy, Lloyd Banks. Then he bring Lloyd Banks in, and then all of a sudden, his G-Unit. And then he was sitting at the front of my, I'm at the board, and he was like, this is going to be my crew. And he had this tattoo, but smaller right here. And he was like, yo, you help me get them, and we're going to take this together. And I'm like, yo, let's do it. And at that time, Yayo was in front of a mic, like, he wasn't even rapping it in front of it. He was behind it. So I was like, yo, bro, you don't know what you're doing? Like, they was just used to freestyling and doing that. I'm like, nah, you got to do it like this. So they were brand new. Brand new. But Banks went in there, and I was like, yo, this motherfucker crazy. He just blacked out. And Yayo had that energy, and we did that Bad News record. And let me tell you, man, that was a game changer, man. So we just was at least a year and a half in my basement without y'all, at least a year before y'all heard anything. It was the record that was going out, and then a few started coming out slowly. But once we dropped Guess Who's Back, and then 50 Cent Was the Future was a month after, it's just God's plan, No Mercy, No Fear. This guy worked unlike anyone else. And we had all these records loaded. And on those albums, all those mixtapes, they became street albums. There was always a single. Wangster was on this one. You know what I mean? Like, you pull this record off of that one, and then you'll rock it like it was a single. And that was his formula. And then even when he was about to drop the album, it was like, no more mixtapes. And he still dropped the fucking mixtape. So, but he made the mixtape street enough so you would soak that up for the streets, but then buy this for the mainstream. So he knew how to balance it. And Jimmy and them, and no one would shut him down because it was working. And it was his marketing approach. And literally, the first mixtape, we're in my basement, me and my boy, Jay, I ain't gonna even shout him out from EMS, but you know, he was there, and he was the one that taught me how to duplicate all the CDs, get the machine. Then we had to print the cards, so we would put it all in my sleeves, and then we would have a route. So the 50 Cent is the Future was the first mixtape where we said, all right, after Guess Who's Back, just like that, we're gonna take this freestyle that we did for everybody, and a few new records that we cut and put it together. I called my guy Don Morris, who did an interview for Double XL that I was at, and he was a photographer, and I took his contact. This dude was this crazy, wild, like he was just nuts, but he was the illest photographer I met. But me and him bonded. So away from that, I was like, yo, I'll pay you on the side. Yo, take this photo shoot for 50 and his crew. So I set up the photo shoot, come to 20, I think it was like 26th Street and 11th, some photo shoot right under the train trestle. He set up that shot. Fifth was the one that came with the Air Forces, the shirts, the tank tops with the colors. He did all the coloring himself. He had the image, then he had the green and white. We did God's Plan. We did all the album covers in that one photo shoot. And 50 Cent Future with the red, white, and blue was all in that. And then Don, he said, take the logo from his arm, the G Unit, and put it right there. 50 Cent is the Future with the G Unit. That's the first time you've seen the logo actually on a print from a tattoo. So he made the tattoo and the logo up. You know what I'm saying? So now we're taking that on the artwork and we put that mixtape out. It's over. The next day, I'm thinking I could go to Canal Street again and sell some more. The African bootleg market is deep, man. It's 24 hours, bro. You ain't gonna. That shit's already there. They already duplicating that shit. So that shit's everywhere. I couldn't even go to the store and sell it no more. And Fitz was like, "You make some money?" I was like, "Yo, bro, it's $2,000, bro. Here, like it's $3,000, bro." He's like, "Nah, keep that. You pay your electric bill." I was like, "All right, good luck, bro." And then we just like, you know what I'm saying? But that was on the mixtape. But then after that, I never cared about the mixtape money, and that's where DJ Hookie came in. Because after the first 50 Cent was the Future, my cousin, he was scared. He was the one that told me, stay away from him. They're going to get him. But I was like, nah, he the one. And then after he saw that first mixtape come out, he realized I was right. And then he came in, and then he became the DJ that was the name behind, the voice behind all the mixtapes moving forward. And that was the whole run after that.
After doing the mixtapes, you guys are building this crazy buzz. At what point did you guys hear the labels are interested?
Yeah, so after the mixtape came out, the buzz was crazy. Hot 97 radio started playing records off the mixtape freestyles, and that's like actually some of the first freestyles that you hear on rotation. That was from 50 Cent, unknown artists, and Hot 97 New York was going crazy off of 50, so labels started getting interested. And this was a time when I was telling 50 that, like, you know, even though I'm your go-to guy, I'm like connecting the dots. He made me, become his manager. I was like, yo, but we need somebody a little bit more in connection and a little bit more OG mode that could actually protect us and make sure we do the right thing. And I know this one person that I always looked up to, brought my first track that I ever sold, and he's one of the illest managers in the game, Chris Lighty. And my boy Slim Pickens used to have this party every Wednesday on the pier, Black Diamonds, and we would go to this party on the pier in Manhattan. All the industry people would be there, and I would go there every week. And Chris would see me there. I'll be with different homies, Gino here, this one here, little young industry dudes, and I will always run up to Chris. Yo, I'm working with 50. I'm telling you, he's next, Chris. And Chris, he got busted. He got everybody. He got probably Ja Rule at the time, but he was like, he was slow to listen, but he kept listening to me because he knew I had the energy and I would do the Cormega shit. So he saw me running around always outside. So I was like, yo, Chris. After a while, after me saying it too many times and the record started going, he was like, yo, bring him to the office. And I was telling Fifth, like, yo, I've been telling Chris, you should meet him. I'm telling you, he's ill. And Fifth knew who he was. And he listened to me, and he went to the city. And we went to Chris's office. And that connection was the real connection that actually helped everything get shaped into form, because Chris knew every label. So immediately, it wasn't me having to deal with this person or that person. Chris took those calls and set up those meetings, whether we was at Jive, Atlantic, J Records, wherever we went. Chris was the one that set it up, and we walked into the room as a team. I done seen people from excited execs to scared execs. to ones that already knew that they was going to sign him because they got the call to shut him down, the blackball call, but they wanted to take the meeting to see what this was all about, see what this energy was looking like. So we done seen it all. And even some of them we walked out of like, yo, that was kind of weird, bro. You seen his leg? It was shaking like a motherfucker. He's fucking scared. Like, so we done seen so many different vibes that first run, we was possibly going to sign to J Records, and then immediately Chris started seeing Fifth blow. So this is a part that nobody has on documentation, and I only know and Fifth know. Chris was trying to sign Fifth to Violator Records. So he had Papoose, he had Mobb Deep, and he had Busta with Flip Mode, and he was doing this package deal with J Records, and he's Fifth. Instead of making him sign a management contract, he didn't want to be his manager. I was the manager. He was like, no, I want you to sign a Violator Records. So they did this 30-day deal where he was allowed to shop them for 30 days. And, this is a gem right here, man. Fifth gonna smile, man. 30 days, man. Every label we went and met with. Chris was getting a deal together. The deal was coming through. Job was about to shoot a massive deal. And then we started learning that it was actually a package. We was a part of the package. It was going to be 50 Mobb Deep in this, 50 Mobb Deep in Papoose. You know what I mean? And it was like, wait a second. We want this to be about him. So at the end, like the last week, probably the last day, I get a call from my lawyer, who eventually became 50's lawyer, and I told Fifth that this lawyer was cool and we need to get these kind of lawyers on the squad, and he's ill out here. And Theo called the studio when we was in the basement, and he called me and he was like, yo, M has been listening to this mixtape nonstop. Him and his security guard driving around Detroit going hard. His security guards was from Queens, so they was going harder for us, even knowing that he was from Southside. So the energy was crazy wherever M was at. He was like, yo, he wants y'all to fly to LA. We was like, when? He was like, as soon as possible. I said, yo, Theo, Fifth got on the phone with Theo. Fifth looked at me, booked a ticket, told Theo. Me, Theo, and Fifth flew to LA, and that was the game changer. Flying to LA, just us three. We landed. We was at the Mondrian Hotel on Sunset. Fifth doing his workout and all that, and we were waiting for the next day to meet there with M, Dre, Paul, Jimmy, and Theo. And that meeting was the game changer. But I got a story to tell y'all before that meeting. But I'm going to just end it where this was all the labels that we met with. Didn't sign a Violator. The deal ended with Violator. And then on the 35th day is when he was like, I'm out of this contract. I'm going to sign with Shady Aftermath. So here's a quick behind the scenes little extra that I want to add, because I seen people on Drink Champs talking about me, but they won't even say my name, sounding crazy. Like, who you talking about? Like, what's his name? You know my name. I grew up with you. Hung out with your brother my whole childhood. Respected you. Worked on the street team. Asked you to connect me with people. Your one phone call, I appreciate that. You send me to Bearsville, I meet 50, right? But this dude, Steve Stout, is now an executive at Interscope. So while he's on me, this is why I had to part from you, homie. So he's the only one through the whole industry that know we're in LA, because he works for Interscope, right? So he's Jimmy's top guy. So the day before the meeting, he comes to our hotel. I grew up with him. He's my OG. Same school, 1st to 8th grade. Him and my brother was in. Me and his brother grew up together, so we know each other. So I'm trusting him, right? So I'm like, yo, Fifth, Steve Stout want to talk to you. Fifth knew Steve Stout through Trackmaster, so it was nothing new, nothing uncomfortable. He said, all right, cool. We in the gym having a meeting. Steve on a treadmill, showing Fifth how fast he can run. I'm like, yo, you're a fat boy that can run fast. Wow, that's crazy. We laughing, we talking. And at the meeting, he says to me and Fifth, but he's talking to Fifth, don't sign to Shady Aftermath. You could sign to Rough Riders, or you could sign a Timberland label. He gave us other options, or you could just sign to Aftermath. But he was trying to talk us out of that deal, right? And this is the moment where Fifth really looked at me, and this is where I had to make a decision. And this is where you go back to Drink Champs and you see him on me. This is where he got mad. Fifth was like, yo, son, you working with me or you working with him? I respected Steve so much that I almost was applying that pressure with Fifth, and then I had to reverse it. I was like, yo, hold on a second, bro. You actually trying to look out for yourself and not even for us. You looking out for you as an exec and as an Interscope. You're not looking out for Fifth. You're not looking out for me. So Fifth was like, yo, Shot, don't talk to him no more, bro. Like, him, bro. So the next day we took that meeting and we never I never texted him back, never called him back. I was like, bro, we signed a hit. He didn't like that. And we ended up doing Shady Aftermath, and he was mad because he was trying to, wherever he was trying to take us was going to be in a failed direction. And we didn't listen. And from that moment on, that's when a little tension between, we fixed it a little bit with the Reebok deal, but that's where we knew that. And I was loyal to Fifth, and I wouldn't listen to no one else. He's like, you work for me or you work for him? I said, I'm with you, bro. And my loyalty was to him, never ever listen to another head that was trying to steer us in the wrong direction. And he signed the Shady Aftermath that June 20th, 2002. Like weeks after that meeting. For real.
How did you guys feel after landing the deal with Eminem and Dr. Dre?
After that deal, man, for one, he got a huge advance. $1 million advance. That was really big at that time. You know, he was pretty much, he had little money from what was left over from the Trackmaster pub deal or whatever. So he wasn't completely broke, but he was spiraling down. So that really took him up. And for me, it didn't change because I ain't got no money out of that. So I just was still there just recording. So for me, I was excited because now it's like, yo, we're going to Dre studio. Or we're flying to Detroit. We're going to M. So now I'm like, yo, these are legends. We're working with the best of the best. So for me, I was excited. And that's where I started learning everything because me, I was in my crib recording everything for him. But then I go to Dre studio and I see this whole team, engineers. Even though Dre mixed it himself, he had the recording engineer. He had a whole staff. He had a mic pre, a mic compressor. And he was like, yo, what are you recording to? And then, I got the mic here, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mic was like $100, $200 mic, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, but the vocals sound good, man. He gave me a big up, but he was like, yo, we're going to come here and re-record this or add more layers. Fifth, I want you to do ad-libs like that. So the whole process became a whole educational because I learned so much about quality. And they taught me, you know, the better miking, better pre-miking, compression and everything. And Sony mic cost like 10 grand. That's what Fifth was rapping on at Dre Studio, at M Studio, 10 grand. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, we going back home to $200 mic, recorded the whole album on that shit, bro. And they would take the sessions and then they'll do their mixes and add more stuff to it. But that process was really like, all right, we signed and they sent us back home. And we literally recorded more than half the album even prior to that signing. So we could go through a list of the songs, and I can tell you most of these were done before we even signed to Shady Aftermath. And then, you know, all the ones with Dre that was produced by him, we did with him, and then the few that we did with Eminem, and then M did some co-production on a lot and mixed. Dre mixed half, M mixed half, and then my boy Pat Viala only mixed 2, which I was happy because they actually let us do something in our own studio with Pat where we was able to deliver up to the frequency of Dre and M, which taught us a lot because we had to sound right good next to them, which was not easy. So, but we did that. Pat, you did that, bro.
Talk to us about taking an executive role on the album instead of just being a producer.
So me coming on the album as a co-executive producer and taking on that executive role, it was something I didn't know I was doing naturally because half the times we would be recording so much, I wouldn't have time to make beats because I'm recording. So after a while, I started calling homies like, yo, send me some beats. Call Gino, call this one, yo, send me some beats. And I would start playing him beats that I would be getting that I would listen to before I play it. And he would like, yo, that's dope. Yo, that's dope. So I started calling Conrad from Bad Boy, who was A&R, yo, send me this. And you know what I mean? He sent me new producers from Queens, and they had us loop, and it was Follow Me Gangsta. And I was like, yo, let me take that. And I put it in the MP, and I added bass to it and added a little bit more drums, and then Thicker Than Water comes out. You know what I mean? So some of it become co-production. Wangsta, same thing. Fifth come with this CD. Producer from Virginia, Jay Praise. It's like really thin and it has no bass to it. I'm like, yo, hold on, I'm gonna put a bass to it. I'm gonna loop this and I'm gonna just make it a bit thicker and then pull it through my system and then Wangsta come out. So he started seeing like, wait, so you don't have to do the beat, but you cool. Like, yeah, I'm like, nah, we gonna find the hit. If I don't make it, it need to be hot. So, and I'm too busy to make all these beats. So at nighttime, I'll make this and that. But then when he'll come during the day, like, yo, I got this one though, so we could work faster. So as he saw that, he was like, wait a second. So it's not only about you. It's like, nah, I'm not just a producer. I'm here to see you work. So he f***ed with that. Because I didn't make it about me as a producer. I had to do every beat. He liked that part about me because it wasn't, you know what I mean? Everybody's selfish at this time. And I'm like, nah, bro, let's get it. This dude got a hot beat. Look at this, is Digger joint. Yo, Rob, yo, look, what up, gangster? You know what I mean? So as we playing different joints, Classic starts getting laid down. And as we go, he was like, all right, you took on a role. Like, all right. And I didn't even know that was A&Ring. That was co-exec. I didn't know I was being none of that. I was just doing what I knew was going to help build it to where we would get to the finish line. And that's how that all started. Didn't even know the roles, the titles, none of that. I was just trying to help him get to that finish line. And that's what it was.
Talk about the album title, what it means to you, and we noticed that you got it tatted on your arm too.
Yeah, so the album title, Get Rich or Die Trying, tatted on my arm, means a lot. Because at that time, I'm literally, I ain't gonna lie, getting calls from Haitian Jack, Web and Nitty, you name it, Suge Knight, gonna call my phone, all the gangsters. And he had some pressure out there, man. So the model and the whole thing was, yo, you either gonna get rich or you gonna die trying. Because that's where he was at in life. Because you got someone who puts up an assassination, don't finish the job, you thinking they coming back. So you gotta be protected wherever you go. So that never happen again. You're not in the car and someone just run out and hit you. You're gonna be in the car waiting for someone pointing to hit them first. So everywhere he go, even when he came to my house, they like an army, you know what I'm saying? And that was the whole thing, motto. Yo, bulletproofs. It wasn't a place we went without guns or bulletproofs. Offices, labels, everywhere we was ready. He had his soldiers there. All right, y'all stay here. Then we'll walk in and be on some legitimate, don't be afraid, but right outside, motherfucker, be ready to take your head off. So that whole motto was the life. And then for me, it was like, all right, get rich or die trying, right? We gonna either get rich or they about to kill us. Now, we in my house. All they gotta do is find out where I'm living. That's why I started wondering why all these calls was coming in. Yo, where y'all at? And I started realizing some of the homies wasn't really homies. They was just trying to figure out. Because they could have came to my crib and just took us out. My kids upstairs, family would have been, hurt first, and then they would have came and just wiped us out. So I was protective over him. That was another thing he respected because I wasn't the chatty patty, yo, Fifth at my crib, yo, come through. None of that. Nobody knew. Just a handful of people. And through that process, we were able to just get to the finish line because we was like militant. Very disciplined crew, man, and it's real. So yeah, even with the G unit name, I was like, yo, what is that? He was like, it's a guerrilla unit, man. We gonna come like this. And I was like, yo, where you get that name from, man? It's hard, man. And he had the tat right here. He went to the Coliseum, I think about Shirt Kings, and homie put that on his arm. I'm like, yo, guerrilla unit, fire. And he used to say guerrilla unit, but then he's just shortening it down. G unit. Once he said that on the record, it was over, man. And he had the unit. He had the younger boys, like 5 years younger. They would listen to him. You know what I mean? He knew how to get the certain generations that just be on program. And they would program. They was wild f***ing gorillas, man. And it made sense, man.
What was the feeling in the city around the time of Get Rich or Die Trying?
So the feeling in the city at that time while we were working on it, man, you got, New York was all trying to be together. You got the New York Ray, you got Ja Rule, you got Fat Joe, you got the Locks. So you got a whole bunch of people. You got Dipset. Everything was uptown. You know what I'm saying? Queens was kind of a little quiet at the time. So, when we embark, we hit hard. When Nas hit, it's a game changer. So when Queens hit, it's a hit. And Queens was kind of quiet, man. And when he came, Queens became the borough to just take it back all the way, man. And I mean, every borough, Bronx, we would go to Yonkers, we would go everywhere. The respect was there. They loved the music, man. And for us, it was like we was bringing New York back, but we was bringing it back, but still separate. There was no unity because he wasn't tied with nobody. But he brought so much energy that it stood out for the whole town, man, because everybody was taking it out of town and loving that. So he brought New York back to a place where it never went, and even sold more records than anyone was able to sell in New York. And to this day, he topped it all.
We talked on the Zoom call about how a lot of rappers had negative titles around their time, like Ready to Die from Biggie, but 50's title was different.
Yeah. So, there's this time where I started reading a lot of books in the early 2000s and knowing that the words are powerful and the words that you speak into existence. And when you start looking at all the rappers Ready to Die and all these albums titled around death and, more catering to the negative part, those words really are powerful. You got to be careful what you're saying, which comes out your tongue. So Fifth put the positive part of get rich or die. So he made it sure that he did the positive part, which he got rich, and he did everything to try, no matter what. He worked hard as man. And with that affirmations, those words of firm affirmations, that's how I got the name Shy Money. Because I'm in a room one day and I'm like Shy Self, right? He's saying it on records, but I'm like, hold on, you 50 Cent, that's Lloyd Banks, that's Tony Yayo. Word of affirmation. I want money. I want money. I'm gonna live extra large. So I'm gonna be Shy Money XL. And when I became a part of that whole thing, it was no more Shy Self. And there was this other homie from my hood named Tall Self who came out of jail. He was a producer. Started doing Onyx records, started doing DMX records. And when I would walk in the hood, they were confused. Self, you did that? Self, you did that? I'm like, nah, I ain't do that, bro. The Self did that. So I didn't like that. So I was like, I don't want to be confused with no one. So my name officially has changed, Shy Money XL. And shout out to Biggie, because I heard him say something on a record before with the Money XL, and it's just kind of like stuck. And I just went with it, man. And that was it, because I was 50 Cent, Shy Money. Lloyd Banks was just words of, you put that money in it, you put that get rich in it, those words of affirmation, and look at us now, man.
Give us a breakdown of which tracks were recorded in your basement and which were with Dr. Dre and Eminem.
So the whole 2001, we were in my crib recording. We were doing the freestyles and we were doing songs. The real songs that he was starting to put together, he would say, push that to the side, push that to the side. So we was recording nonstop. And at one point, he just was like, all right, we're going to put these records out for mixtapes, and then this is going to be the album. But I was on ADAT, and I was like, yo, I need more tracks. So I was like, I had got this little check, and I was like, I'm going to go to Guitar Center, because I heard they got this new system called Digio 1, and it's Pro Tools, but it's like a smaller version. It's not hard to use, and I'm going to learn how to use it. So I went to Guitar Center right before he came to my crib. I brought the computer, the Digio 1 system, and the hard drive. And when he came to my house, I opened it up and I called the guy from Guitar Center. I was like, yo, I opened it up. What to do? So he literally was on the phone teaching me how to use Pro Tools. Never used it before. Mind you, I'm not an engineer, man. We ain't got no money for no fucking engineer. So guess what? Instead of paying $30 an hour for something, we ain't got money for food that day. I'm gonna have to hit that, and we gonna save that. And then this is my crib. We ain't paying no studio fee, so I'm gonna eat that. But I'm gonna learn this so we could get it done. So the dude ran through the whole process with me. Hit the record button, had the mic going in, bang. First record I ever recorded on Pro Tools was What Up Gangsta, right? So I record the whole song. We go crazy, bro. So then next day, I'm trying to find it. Yo, the audio files is all over the computer. I didn't save it right. So I had to call this guy, Carlisle Young, who's like a real engineer, and he was like, yo, I'm going to come. But yo, you know what? Book the studio in Deer Park, which was Corey Rooney's studio. And we went there with Carlisle Young, and he actually re-recorded What Up Gangsta and took some of the files I did have, put it together for me, and showed me how to save it, how to do. I didn't know what I was doing, man. Like literally, Many Men, High All the Time, that wasn't recorded on Pro Tools. That was recorded on ADAT. We had to transfer it from ADAT to Pro Tools. You could hear some of that frequency that ADAT has. You'll hear it on Many Men. You know what I mean? And some of the distortion as well. And so I was just learning how to be an engineer. So I'm getting with guys that were professional, and then they were teaching me how to make it. So then after that, Dre will give us a beat CD, go back from LA, cut all the records, come back. He's like, yo, all right, do this hook over. Yo, do this. Yo, like he was the one, yo, raise your tone. I saw him vocal coach, and I'm like, I was engineering the whole year. I was like, yo, Fifth, do that again. Like we wasn't vocal coaching him. Like Dre was like, oh, you got to do that, bro? He's like, nah, say it like this. Say it this tone. I'm like, yo, I'm going to be doing that shit, right? But Fifth would be in there. He'd know what he doing. He always knew what the he cut the record. His tones was right, and it just was magical. It wasn't like you had to tell him that, but I learned that that's a whole nother process to engineering, which I wasn't in. So then when we get back, I'm like, yo, Fifth, do that over. Yo, cut that. Fifth, I have, yo, he missing the thought of a word. Yo, I'm throwing a word out at him. Yo, here's a line. You know what I'm saying? And then he just was just going in, man. And we record everything. And then we'll bring it to M. M will take the files, throw it in his system with Steve King, elevate it. Whole new frequency. Take it from where we had it. Then we get the stems for the tracks. And then that's when we just started putting the album together. But half the album was recorded in 2001 prior to 2002 signing, leading up to that, you know. We could go track for track. I could tell you, man, where it was recorded, man, and what was recorded before the album.
Let's talk about the beat selection process. Did you give beats to 50, or how did you guys select them?
Yeah, so no, Fifth will literally he'll comb through every beat. All I did was give him the CDs. Rarely was it like, yo, this track. It was literally a CD with selections, and he would take that. He would write everything in Pennsylvania and come ready the next day. He would never be like fully writing a song in my studio. He would have it already done because he premeditatedly cut these records prior. So when he got there, he just had to record it. So I would just be getting CDs from whoever I was with, whether it was Rockweiler, my boy Gino gave me Digger's joint, A Butler gave me Megahertz. Just different people I'm meeting through the industry, just giving me CDs. Rob Reef, I forgot how I got that CD from him with What Up Gangsta on it, but that was the only one we took from that CD, and then that record was crazy. And it just kept going on like that. My boy Conrad, who's from my hood, 114, Harv, Pierre, they all work for Bad Boy, so they were like big in my hood because I lived in Queens, and they like the whole Bad Boy was 114. So I would go to Conrad, and he would give me CDs, and from that you would find other producers that he had that were trying to get to Bad Boy that wasn't getting placements, and then that's where you get Dig It in Water with his crew that gave me that, and then we just took it to other levels, and DJ Rad. That was through my boy Conrad as well, because he connected me with him because he's from that side of town, and How the Time came in, and then we took it. And then when he sent the files, it was all crazy. I had to re-put it back together. Then I took it to M. Then we was like, yo, we're going to put this here. And then we just started adding more elements to it. Rad did the whole body work. And then me and M just kind of finished it. And then M added the whole theatric parts to it where you know, hearing the soundtracks like in Many Men, you're hearing, you know, the shots and everything. M will put all the theatrics to it. And that's when I learned, oh, wow, this is how you do it. And he would just be sitting there with his musician, Louis Resto, adding little key elements that you like, yo, how the when my poor little Rich came, and I'm like, yo, you added that part, that shit is crazy. I would have never thought that. But M had this ear where he knew how to just, and that's when I was like, okay, so overdubs, and that's where you get the little co-production credits and the additional production. I'm like, yo, I did something with M touched my joint. I'm like, what? So for me, I was hands-on, not greedy. I was learning from everyone, like musicians. Yo, here, take some publishing for that. Musicians, take some pub. We all shared. We all came and combined, add the elements that made it the biggest records to every record. So M finished the things that were skeletons and made it bigger. Same for Dre. And Dre records was just next level.
Let's do the track-by-track breakdown now. Who came up with the intro on the album?
That was all 50. Dropped that, and that was him just like trying to make sure that people knew that it's time for change. The change is coming. Change is now. Hit that quarter. Let's start. And then there was an intro that I did, and it was going to be on the album. And then, you know, it was a little bit too dark for Dre and M. And then Fifth kind of was like, nah, all right, we're going to hold that. So I still have that intro, and it was crazy because he did this is him being an actor before I knew he was going to be an actor, because he was talking on it as an actor and like rehearsing some shit. I'm like, yo, you got like, you sound like this is a movie. And I still got this shit, man. And then he's like acting out the whole scene before, like him getting shot, and it was going to be the skit. But they didn't like the music. It was a little too dark, and so that just kind of sat to the side.
What Up Gangsta?
So yeah, What Up Gangsta? Shout out to Rob Reef, Tulo. Yo, that beat came in. First record I ever recorded on Pro Tools, like I said. So, you know, and when he did that, it was like, bow, everything, hook, everything was exactly what you heard. Backgrounds, yo, he did that in one day, solid ass record. I'm like, yo, what the is this? And we just pushed it to the side and just held it. It wasn't on no mixtape. It wasn't on nothing. First record I ever recorded on Pro Tools, so there was mad records to come after that. Took that to the side. You know what I'm saying? So What Up Gangsta was one of the first gems we ever did that he knew off top. That's album material, not mixtape material. He put that right to the side.
Damn, how'd you guys know that?
Yo.
Like, it's wild.
Yeah, nah.
I know, you can tell, obviously, but just the fact that, you guys recorded so much after that. Just chilling there.
Yeah, and with the G Unit, and he just knew how to brand that G Unit name early. Like, he was the one that came with that whole vision, and we're like, G Unit, we using this, we going down. It was like, fuck. And I'm sitting here like, damn, this beat is dope, man. And I didn't, I'm like, yo, we need some more like this. And then it just like, let's look for some more. And that's when it just kept going. Let's find some more. What Up Gangsta, when you hear the extra additional strings at the end, that's when we sent, after we do the session, I'll go to LA. You can't email sessions at this time. So I'm bringing the hard drive and all of that to Dre. Dre took that. He had this producer that was under his wing, Mike Elizondo, ill dude. Played music, guitars, all of that. So he came up with that. And that was that little element. And at that time, that's Dre and all of them. So whatever credit they want, they're going to take it. So, me, I'm just new to it. And Rob was cool, and they added that additional production credit or co-production credit. It was just for the strings at the end. And he did that. But Dre mixed that, and that sounds crazy.
Patiently waiting.
Ha!
So how did that even come about?
So, patiently waiting, man. I was watching this Complex interview, and they were talking about it, and I had to reminisce on that. Like, see, with Eminem, when he gave us a BCD, it was a skeleton. Literally a skeleton. Like, you would hear one sound and the drums. So half of the shit, if I was a rapper, I couldn't hear it. But Fifth, I'm like, how the f*** you hear this shit, bro? So he took that beat. We went back from Detroit, and he took that beat. We loaded it up, and he, like, kicking it. I'm like, honestly, at the beginning, I didn't like it because it was such a skeleton. I'm like, I don't hear it. But when we got the vocals to M, and M went and added everything with Lou, and that mix came back, and then put that verse in it, it was after a while because that record was sitting, and then he listened to the whole album. He's like, that's the one I'm going to jump on. Because he had another M track too, but it was like, nah, this is the one. And M took that, magic. We came back, heard that verse, me and Fifth, Paul, it's on. It's on, bro. Every time they perform that song, I will go crazy because this is it. This is what you would imagine. Him and M on the record, patiently waiting, and he was saying how it led up, and then what M was saying on the reverse side, game changer. Strings they added, everything. Fire.
I'm still searching on these videos for that.
I know, right? Still no video for that, nothing. Just a bunch of performances.
Yeah.
You see me wilding on stage, throwing my shirt off. That record, I used to lose my mind every time they perform that. We go to Detroit, it's a movie.
Of course, Many Men.
Whew. Many men. Many men. Many men. Let me tell you, out of all records on the album, this was the most premeditated, already written record that when I heard the melody and the shit he was saying, I was like, this is deep. This is crazy. He had that hook and that concept. He was looking for the right beat. And my boy Gino, which was also 50 Boy, he was connected to both of us, Gino Sims, and he gave us that CD because he was managing Digger at the time. They both from Harlem. And when you get to the crib, Fifth had that beat. He brought that through. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. And at that time, he was all Dipset. So we in competitive spirit. So I'm like, yo, does Cam have this beat? Like, what's going on? So I called Gino, like, yo, make sure nobody. And Fifth did the double call, and then Digger had to, but we locked and secured that. But that record, like I said, ADAT. This is before I had the Pro Tools. That record was done before Get Rich or Die Trying, before the deal, on ADAT. You know what I'm saying? So nowhere in sight of a deal, no Dre or M coaching him. That story was told from his heart. That melody, that whole shit was in him. He had that just ready for the album and pushed that to the side. Many Men. Classic.
What's interesting about Many Men It's only a story that 50 could tell because it's his life. Anyone can make a club record or a love record, but only 50 could make that song.
Yeah, nah, he'll be in my basement, like I said, doing push-ups with a Bible in his back pocket. I'm looking at the Bible like, this guy got a Bible. Then he's chanting, many men, like this chant in my crib. I'm like, this chant is crazy, bro. I'm never seeing it like just where the video and where Benny do this video and how they, Jesse and them do that, and just like, yo, this is a movie. And he was saying, I'm like, okay. And that was the anthem after that, man. It became a single. Like, it was the most hardest street single. We had to shoot the video. That really, really grew his audience. But I definitely know, like, when we got that Many Men beat, it was with Digga and Gino. That was his guy. And Gino was in touch with me and Fifth, so he was, like, giving us some music. And we was like, that shit fire. So, like, I'm hearing that even Cam probably even cut to it or something. But I don't know, because we never heard these records. I'm glad we never did, because it's a game changer, man.
The biggest single, the biggest record in the club. Talk to us about it.
We in LA, staying off of La Cienega, SLS, and we would go to Burbank, to Encore, and for some reason, like, initially Fifth didn't cut the records with Dre there. So at this point, Dre sends me back with the CD. This CD is like, yo, you need security, like, got like a few beats on it, back downs on it, but this beat was a skeleton. Now these dudes is real skeleton musicians. Like, they give you some shit, you gotta figure it out. And Fifth knew how to figure it out. That shit didn't have the dan dan, none of that. It just had the one little doom doom, right, and the drums. That's it. Fifth going there. Oh shorty, and he start the song, write the verses, and then Banks had this record where we already recorded it, and it was probably going to go on a mixtape. No, it was a Banks song. And on the song, he had this line, was in the club, bottle full of blood, and he had that whole line. Fifth always remembered that for some whatever reason, and he was like, nope, this is a hook. And he took that line from the song and made it that hook. You know, Banks never got the publishing credit or the check, because that's a big one. But he definitely wrote that hook, for sure. There was a D12 version, and it was, I'm not going to say it was terrible, man. Respect to them, but bizarre. It just wasn't, you didn't think that record even mattered once you heard that, right? But then it was also a Rakim version, right? So I think I heard it only one time. I can't even remember this record. I think if I did, it just was like, nah, because it wasn't it. And Rakim was at that stage where it was like, yo, what's happening here, bro? Is this coming out? What's going on? Him and Dre had that, you never know if it's going to happen, because you could be signed to Dre and never come out. You know what I mean? So he was at that stage where he wasn't doing his part to make Dre feel enough like, yo, we got to go. So, you know, with Dre, you got to push your own wave at the same time to make him feel comfortable to know he going to make it with you, and it's not just him making you. So we did enough energy. So when we came back with that, yo, Dre was like, all right, jump in the booth. Yo, he made him record half the record over, put mad ad-libs behind it, raised the tone here. Yo, yo, do it on this mic. Dope. Yo, we was just sitting there. Dre, Mike Elizondo pull out the guitar. Ding, 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 ding. Dre and his keyboard, bam, bam, making it bigger. Bam, bam. I'm like, oh, shit, yo. So we just sitting there. Not only am I sitting there watching shit happen, then I see Dre hit the board. This motherfucker, I'm sitting here thinking I'm just on some Mackie board. He on an SSL board knowing every switch, every button, and he's mixing it himself. And when I'm hearing him mix, I'm like, yo, there's quality. You hear that shit, bro? I'm like, what the How big that shit sounded. Dre had speakers from the floor to the ceiling, the whole wall. My ears is like, yo, now 20 years later, I just left the ear doctor. I lost the frequency, man. All right, Dre, I lost the frequency from them sessions, man. Seriously, man, that shit is so crazy and loud. Bro, but that birthday part, man, just to think that record wasn't even possibly going to be the first single. Now, looking back, thinking that we had thought If I Can't was, and we even attempted that, is crazy. It's crazy. That's the birthday anthem for everyone to this day. Stevie Wonder and 50 Cent, best birthday records ever, if you ask me.
That is the crazy part. It's like you guys are having a debate on what single.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Like we sit in the room like, if I can't or this, we knew it was Dre either way, and we was like, but if I can't, it's too West Coast, like too West Coast, and it's like, nah, bro. And I think they did this testing in December, and it worked. I think whether it was Flex or somebody, and that's crazy. And Flex went probably an hour long just playing 2 bars before you even heard the go. Like, yo, bro, play the fucking song. Yo, for an hour. New York was going crazy. Yo, that January, that record dropped, game change. You could go back and see everyone, even the haters say, when they heard that record, they knew it was over.
Before we continue to the next track, who sequenced the album?
So Get Rich or Die Trying was sequenced by 50 Cent. He literally, song for song, sat down right before I went to mastering. Dre and M was real particular with who mastered Bernie. They needed Bernie, and that's when he was like a legend, and Dre set it up, and M, and they were like, yo, because they'll send a record that's almost damn near mastered already. So you don't have enough space to do anything after you get a Dre mix, because he done took all the space left in a master. So Fifth came up with the sequence, and then it was just me in there with Bernie, and we put it together and mastered it. Dre and M had some comments to say about the master. That's the only thing. And I was learning, like, I don't hear what they hear. Like, because I at the point, I didn't even understand what mastering was doing. But then I started really listening. I'm like, wait a second. You have to A-B it? And I'm like, hold up. It is so big now. And Dre was like, do this, keep it, don't change the like, you can put more bass in it, and he don't want you to do none of that. He just wanted as loud as it can be, but his mix. Same for M. So I had to learn how to give them what they wanted, and then the one or two that me and Pat did, fit it in right between that. And that was when Bernie showed me, just had to sit there and watch, and I was just absorbing it all. And it was just me there, Tracy, shout out to Tracy from Shady Records, my boy Riggs, and we delivered. And Fifth wrote out the whole sequence, and we just put it together and delivered it.
Yeah, that sequencing is perfect.
Oh yeah. Now he knew it. He knew where he wanted this. He knew where like my style. Like he had a whole vision and how he wanted it to go.
That usually makes or breaks an album.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
If it gets you off a groove,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you might not like the next record as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the groove isn't there.
Yeah, and especially if you have to hit that fast forward button, it changes the. You don't want to have to hit that. You want to just drive or roll without having to touch anything.
Yeah.
All right, back to the tracks. Let's talk about High All the Time.
High All the Time. Shout out to DJ Rad. Recorded prior to the deal. It's funny because I'm high all the time. Fifth don't even smoke. So when he's saying it, it's like, oh, you rapping for us, bro. But all right. So he made a song knowing that everybody smoke weed. You know what I mean? But he don't smoke weed, yo. So we just love this shit because it's like, yo, we chanting the melody like because that's what we live in it. But he knew how to make songs that was for people, even though he didn't have nothing to do with it, man. And that record is it. He was like, all the weed heads, all y'all motherfuckers. My house would be Smokey, Yayo, Smurf, everybody we smoking this shit, Banks, and he was like, high all the time. Y'all motherfuckers high all the time, man. Bro, we function motivated stoners, all right, bro? Motivated stoners, and we got it done. And that record was for all of us, and the whole world smokes. So when we heard that, they heard it. That record just was the beat. DJ Rab, me and M did some fine tip trailing on that, tightened it up. Finish. Shout out to Louis Resto as well, man. Killer. And Steve King on that mix, those mixes, forget about it, man. Forget it.
Heat is the next track, and an interesting thing about that track is on the clean version of the CD, it's completely removed, and in the UK version, the gun sounds are removed. So talk to us about making that track.
So this Heat record, for me, was the first time I heard a producer use something that wasn't a drum and made it a drum. He used gunshots to make kicks and snares out of it. And I was like, what the is this? When we heard that we was like, what? He's like, oh, we're going to bring that heat. And Fifth concentrated. It was just like How to Rob and all of that. Yeah. So the Heat, there was a version with Rakim. And, like I said, Dre had a whole bunch of artists and they were making records and he was all about what was the best. But when we came back with that version and Fifth had it, Let me tell you, man, Fifth went crazy on that record, and like I said, man, you never heard a beat where it's guns and cockbacks and snares and hi hats. Like, oh, who does this? Like, and Dre's over there, him and his musicians and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this, yo? And beef back and the company, yo, what the crazy, crazy.
Okay, the next track is If I Can't.
So yeah, I mean, when If I Can't, we did that, recorded it, everything. That was one of the records that we didn't do much at my crib. That was like a real LA trip where we stayed there for a few weeks and worked with Dre, and then you just felt different because that record gives you that LA feel, so that sunshine and that whole energy, and it was like, yo, this is big, Fifth. Like, damn, you making different records, and it was like, if I can't do it, home, and it was like, oh. It's like an anthem, you know what I mean? And more motivated kind of you to just want to be better and just like, if I can't, it's going to get done. So it was like Dre, 50 on the same record. Like, can this happen? And didn't happen, but that record was crazy, man. And I forgot the musician who played on that with Dre, but I think his name was Ron. Dre had some amazing musicians, man. And shit that he was playing, just the chords, the progressions is just different. And the sound on that record. So I was a big fan of that beat. Really big fan of that track.
Next track, Bloodhound.
Bloodhound. So Bloodhound, this story, we got to give Juvenile some love and respect because this wouldn't have happened without Juvenile. Rest in peace to CeeLo, bus driver from Roosevelt, Long Island, who's also affiliated with my homies from Queens, Sam, PR, Coach PR. Sam and Coach PR called me. It's like, yo, Juvenile is in New York, and our cousin is driving him. He's the bus driver. So CeeLo was the bus driver for all of the Cash Money, and they would literally drive this bus like it was a SUV. You want to go to the grocery store? That they go to a show, the bus. They go to a hotel, bus everywhere. Go to a bathroom, bus. So they pull up in my crib on the bus. So when Juvenile come out, it's a whole bunch of motherfuckers from the South there, New Orleans. I'm thinking everybody from New Orleans. Lo and behold, Buck was one of them in the crowd. So as he came to the crib, we start cutting records with UTP, and that's where you hear it on the first 50 Cent is the Future. That was the beginning of what was to come with Bloodhound. We did 2 records. Bloodhound was the 3rd record that we did, and it wasn't even that we did it. That record was played for us on the bus when we was in the city. Went to go check Juvenile again. Fifth was cool with going to see him on the bus. We were on the back of the bus with them, playing music, cutting records, and Buck played that shit on the bus. So now, 50 look at me, I look at him. Me and Buck stay in touch. I'm texting Buck, calling Buck. I ain't even texting him, calling him. So eventually, Yayo gets arrested, and we're like, I'm like, Fifth, let's call Buck and let's, see if we could, Fifth's like, call him. See, I was pushing for him. That same with Game. I'm the one that bringing the ones out in and trying to see if we could get the South in and the West in. Buck had this cool energy, and then it was like, yo, Buck, come with us, and da. He come to New York. We go through that again, and then Buck 50's like, yo, I need some for the Southern market. This record got that vibe for me, and I want to make sure I hit the Southern market with the right record. So 50 and what's the producer name? Sean Blaze from Houston. Come with the session. They had the session. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, all right, let's fine tune some of this and that. And then we take the session, pull out some Buck verses. 50 come in, lay his hook, over. That record was a little insert 50 right here. So shout out to Buck because he really created the foundation behind that. Buck was an amazing songwriter. Can't never take the credit from him on that. He had that vision laid out. And that was the foundation for Fifth just to jump in on there. Insert verse right here. Insert, you know what I mean? The hook, everything. So Buck was on it.
Let's talk about the crazy track Back Down and the original version.
Back Down. That record right there is his traditional patterns of how to rob, your life's on the line, ghetto Quran, certain names is being mentioned, certain nerves is being pinched. That's his marketing tool. Fifth has a marketing tool within music. He knows how to make records that's gonna get you to talk, listen, and fuck with him. And that record, that wasn't the cool one like How to Rob, like you could get over it. He's just joking. This one was like, oh, back down. He's going at him. Now, this is one of the ones that I don't know anyone else that did a record to it. Like Dre had records that other people do, Rakim or D12. This one, nah. This one was fresh. And we went to my crib, cut that shit. Fifth had no filter. Got to LA and played it. Dre would put the filter on. I'm like, hold up, bro. Nah, bro. You going too far, man. So we had to re-record that shit, man. You know what I'm saying? I still got the version where he's spazzing, man. He was black. That shit was black down. He was going black on that, blacking out, bro. Wilding on these motherfuckers. The shit was saying like, bro, you can't. What are you doing? Yo, come on, Nas is still homie. Like, him and Nas had that little thing back then. I'm happy they cool now. You know what I'm saying? And Nas said him on the new album. But him and Nas was real cool, man. So, but he wanted to take everybody, man. It's like, you can't go after the God, bro. Everybody's getting it. Everybody's back the down. And that was really, that was well received, man. That was hard as
Next track, PIMP.
I know what you heard about me. Yo, this is the first time I realized Denon Porter was a producer. And he did this beat with this other producer. I don't know where he was from. And when I heard this beat, I'm like, yo, this is different. What is that sound? And he's using some tropical fucking calypso sounds and shit. I'm like, yo, what is that? They play that Dre studio. Yo, Dre, I don't know, man. Their beat sounds so much bigger than when I was in my crib. It's the speakers or whatever, but the sonics, how they had it sounding. Denon was with Steve, what's Steve's this is an engineer that Dre had, Steve, and he was the engineer for all of the sessions where all the other producers were working with him, High Tech and them, and Denon was in there working with him. And when 50 went in that room, we cut that record where Tupac laid most of his album for Death Row. And that studio session, just that knowing that we was in a place where Tupac was at, and it was just us, and I was like, yo, Denon, you dope. Like, you made this beat. It was like, yeah. And, shortly after, it was Stunt 101 and more other stuff that he did. But me, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Because Fifth didn't have no song that sounded like that sonically, nothing. And that record, we knew was a hit after it was done, instantly. And then let's not even get into the Snoop part. You know what I'm saying? Because Snoop heard that, and then it became like, that's one of those records. As soon as you hear, I'm jumping. I need that. And in the video, we went to Jamie Foxx's house, shot the video. First mention I ever seen where we chilling, just hanging out there. Crib was crazy. Snoop was just chilling, and this is where we got to really bond with Snoop and DPG, and that's where DPG Unit came out, Dog Pound and G Unit, and I cut mad records with Snoop. I did, that's what I produced for Rhythm. What was that Snoop album that he came out with? I did Snoop Doggy Dogg, Oh No, Rhythm and something album, Rhythm and Gangsta album that Snoop came out with. That was the bond, and that brought that. And then all of a sudden, me and Snoop became cool. He shouted me out on records, and Fifth brought all of that together. And that was like, yo, this is a legend. Snoop Dogg, man. Snoop Dogg. You can't top. We got Dre, now Snoop Dogg, and we chilling with Snoop. He's smoking like he was the one that you could really hang out with. Like, you could hang out, he'll disappear. Like, he'll pop up in the room like, where did he come from? Like, he was like a magician. Snoop, this different, because we like passing blunts and talking and laughing, and I'm like getting to really with him. So Snoop and the Dog Pound, Daz and them come through. Daz, man. Daz had the beats too, but it just brought us to the West Coast, and it made it all connect to us. That PIMP record really made us West Coast big too. You know what I'm saying? The sound was just sonically amazing, man. Shout out to PIMP. That was a dope one.
Like My Style with Tony Yayo.
I know you like my style. So now check it. This is me and my A&R game, right? I'm from Queens. One of the hottest producers coming out of Queens at that time is Rockwilder. And he from my hood, like, right? Him and Sage, I was the first one seeing him working on MPC, so I was inspired by them. But Rock was kind of like hard to get to and all of that. So I forgot who connected me to Rock. Probably Pat Viala. And I got on the phone with Rock, and I'm like, yo, I'm working on 50. And he was seeing what we was doing. And Rock was hot. So he had his little, I'm hot. But I was like, yo, but he received me, and he sent me that. And Fifth was like, yo, he wrote that song, and Yayo. He needed Yayo on that. I think that was like right before Yayo went to jail, yo. And he made sure Yayo was his man. You don't see nobody else. Buck is lucky he on the album, but Yayo, he made sure Yayo's on my fucking album, man. He made sure. That was his boy. So that record, and Yayo did his thing, killed it. It was like, bro, you on now, bro. And then shortly after, Yayo went to jail. But that was the last piece of the part that we really needed, because he went right before the album came out, man. That was crazy. And like my style. And Pat, that's the only one of two that Dre didn't mix or M didn't mix, and they let us mix. And we recorded that record after the deal. One of the last records recorded on the album, and from outside. So normally they're like, all right, it's a Dre beat or an M beat, but like, nah, here, listen to this. So we sit in the room, and that's one of the 48s that even Dre and M couldn't resist. It was like, yeah, that could make it. That was one of the 48s that was like separately, but during the time, it was like, all right, we'll take that. And they approved it. And it was like, all right, that's one album.
The wild thing about that, like you said, he made sure Yayo was on it.
Mm-hmm.
The feature Yayo, all Yayo said was like a line.
Yeah, that's it.
You need some help?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he made sure that you could get that Yayo presence. He said, I need you to hear your voice on my album. Because Yayo was his hype man. Like, any show you see Fifth, he needed Yayo with him. Even before he got famous, Yayo was his hype man. So he always brought Yayo everywhere. And that's a bond you see to this day. And that's one thing I see. Like, I see that he got somebody that's still with to this day. And I like to see that.
Here's the next track. This is the one that you produced yourself, Poor Little Rich.
Poor Little Rich means so much to me, because I was poor. Then I got a little rich after this, man. That was Poor Little Rich, man. Let me tell you, man. As you see, I didn't produce a lot, and he was letting me bring other beats to him, and he would take that. This is where this record was done before Get Rich was before the deal. This record was gonna be the single. And before he even had the deal, before it was gonna be the single right after Who Shot You came out. We was gonna put it out. Chris Lighty had us run to the studio, mix it in Chung King with my boy Carlisle Young. Mix was horrible. After we heard that we hated the song. Hated it. Fifth was like, nah. Yo, shout out, Carlisle, you, but that mix wasn't right, bro. And Fifth was mad at me, like, yo, Shot, what you doing? And this is where I learned that even what I recorded at the crib, when we took it out, I didn't have control, because it wasn't at the crib, and it was with other engineers. And Carlisle didn't know the frequency that we wanted, so he took it to another place, and Fifth was like, nah, that ain't it, bro. That ain't it. So that record got pushed to the side, right? Got brought back to life when I brought to M in Detroit. M started adding more sounds to it. He made that, like, certain things that I couldn't get out the mix. M was able to take my drums and everything and make it what it was sounding like, but bigger and better. And Fifth, everything. And that was it. Thanks to M, bro. That record, he sealed that shit, bro. Because that record was like, we didn't know how to make it sound exactly how it sounds now. And I couldn't find an engineer to do it. And M and Steve was the ones that took my track, took the song. Fifth laid that song way before everything and made that a masterpiece so we could make it on the album. And that's like the one track I fully produced on the album.
21 Questions with Nate Dogg.
21 Questions, man. So this record was done after the deal. He signed in June. This record was done September 2002. We're getting beats. One of the A&Rs that wanted to sign him, Dino DeValier from Universal, also managed Dirty Swift and Bruce Wayne, who became Midi Mafia. Dirty Swift was originally by himself doing his thing, and he was from Toronto, and he was always with Dino. And Dino would even have access to come to my crib, Fifth with him. And he really wanted to sign him to Universal, but it didn't happen. So with Dino involved, we got that track. And Fifth was one of those people, like I said, he thinks of songs before he record them. And he had that concept, 21 Questions. And I'm like, 21 Questions? And he was like, watch this. And he cut it. And when we cut that record, I was like, yo, this is dope, bro. And then he laid the hook. So then we go to L.A., and he played it for Dre and them. Instantly, I don't even know how that shit happened. Before I open my eyes, Nate Dogg is in the booth. Girl. I'm like, holy shit. I'm watching Nate do the hook. I'm like, yo, Fifth, you wrote that. He did that. I've never seen someone write a hook and then someone else Like, besides the Banks just writing a verse and then Fifth taking it, but no, this wrote the hook and he sang it exactly how Fifth said it. He didn't change the tone or nothing. He added that extra Nate Dogg part to it, but he captured it. And we was like, holy shit, bro. And that record became a process. Because now it's down to sampling time, sample clearance time. Lo and behold, we're at the end of the album trying to clear every sample. This is a second. If you listen to this Barry White sample, they literally just took a second. And that second took over 50% of the publishing, probably 75. And not only that, Nate Dogg's manager, he's a legend, OG. He was also connected to Barry White. So he was literally, I'm like, yo, we have to clear this. Barry White was on his deathbed. Rest in peace to him. This is the last record he ever cleared before he died, as being alive. And the manager was right there, Rodney, and he made that shit happen for us, because if not, it would have died. We would have had to wait on a trust. We probably wouldn't have made the clearance. But the shit got cleared. But when it got cleared, they made sure he took some money with him. He took a lot of money because that record paid a lot, man. Seriously. But that little bit of sample, that's when I learned, damn, I ain't sampling no Barry White because he took so much publishing. So after that, it made me learn certain people you just don't want to sample. Michael Jackson, Barry White, Isaac Hayes, they're going to just take all of the money. So that record, though, but for Dirty Swift and Bruce Wayne, probably their biggest record to date. With 21 Questions, Dre wasn't his favorite. Fifth had the record How the Time for the Weed Heads. He had to back down for the street. But Fifth needed a record for the women, and this was that. But Dre actually took the session, actually coached Nate Dogg through the hook, and after that, it grew on him. It even grew on him. He was at the video shoot and everything. I got the picture of Dre, Paul, and Fifth, and Nate Dogg, and it's like Tyson was there, and it was a big video shoot, one of the biggest video shoot. He met Megan Good, right? That's her name. On that video shoot, that became one of his shorties after that. And that was when he was like on the next level, because she was baddie and all of that. And that record was played so much in California, so much all over the world. It was a big record. Nate Dogg, big record for him. Huge, man. It changed the game. Dirty Swift got a big publishing deal. Him and Midi Mafia changed it for them. They got a deal, I think, with RCA. So even the producers, everyone who participated in certain things, elevated because it helped them get other people to recognize their talent. So that 21 Questions was a game changer for everyone involved.
Yeah, a lot of, if you sampled like Sting, for example,
yes,
a huge percentage. Like
Juice WRLD, yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah,
He took
90,
all of that.
Like
He took
90%.
90%.
Yeah,
That kid only 10%, and still became rich off of it.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Still became rich.
Even Young Blue with the Drake record.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings, I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, Luther Vandross or something, whoever he sampled that from. Yeah,
crazy.
Nah, it's crazy, and they take all, bro. I seen it happen. Somebody take a 90%, man.
It's ridiculous.
It's like, bro, leave something for me.
Yeah, like
leave
half,
something.
I think it should be like an industry standard. Like
Yeah.
half is the most
Half the most. You don't want to sample the Beatles. They taking everything.
Yeah.
Nobody samples the Beatles.
Nobody. I think, doesn't it elevate your career? It's like it extends your career because now your music is being used for new generations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
But then it's also half of those artists are gone, so it's the person that owns the rights. Half of them don't like hip hop, so they don't even want to clear it.
That makes sense.
Like, no, we want this classic to remain this classic, so we're not clearing the sample.
Okay, so next track, Don't Push Me with Lloyd Banks and Eminem.
Don't Push Me. Did it? Recorded in the smallest room. M had 2 rooms. Now, I'm in Detroit thinking, this is Eminem. The studios should be like Dre's, big and polished. His studio was cold. I used to be hungry a lot. It was very cold in there. It was a little ghetto, man, right? And this other room that he had, the smaller room, it was like 12-12. It was like the hooded studio, but it had a good sound with the boards and everything. So we cut that record in the other room while M was probably mixing something here or doing something, and Banks was on that. And Banks cut his vocals that day, and it was like, M heard that. M fell in love with Banks after that record. He was like, because then they got his bond, and then they ended up doing records together and everything, and cutting, producing for him. But that Don't Push Me was one of those records where it was just M playing beats, and we recorded that in Detroit. I never recorded that, never went back to Queens with that. That was all in Detroit. Probably the only record we cut like that in Detroit. Besides, I Smell. We recorded that in Detroit too. Yeah.
So M heard Banks' verse and then did his verse after.
Yeah. Yeah, now M heard that Banks went in there. Then Fifth and them, we came back. M walked in the room. Holy Banks went in. Everybody, out of here. Record done. 2 beats with M. We was like, we got it. We done. Got M on here, bro. Banks got his look. So everybody was good, man. That record was strong.
Yeah, I think Banks had the best verse. And the fact that he cut it before
M,
because a lot of people say M had the better verse. But the fact that he did it first and then M got to hear and then add.
Oh, yeah. M always heard it first and then got to become better if he chose to, But Banks kept up with them. And that's where M got his respect for Banks off of that record.
Even Yayo, shout out to Yayo. M's shooting aftermath, juggernauts. So he killed it too. I think Yayo doesn't get his props on that.
True, facts.
Gotta make it to heaven.
Wow, gotta make it to heaven. Gotta make it to heaven. So now that record, shout out to Megahertz. I've been trying to find him. This producer at the time started to become like the most trending producer where people like, yo, who's Megahertz? He was doing all this Buster stuff. And every record that you heard, it was like, this sound is different. He created a sound where it wasn't samples, all original stuff he was playing, but it had this big solid foundation to the music. Like it wasn't thin or it didn't sound like the Swiss Beats things at the time. It sounded more heavier, like a sample almost, like you could take to it. And I remember hitting up his manager, Anthony Butler, and he connected me, and we got that beat CD. And Fifth cut that. And let me tell you, nobody, Dre, none of them really was like, really champion for that record. That was one of the 48s that when we sat at Jimmy's house with Chris Clancy and DJ and M and Paul and Chris and went through it, it meant something to 50 because of what he was saying. So it made it off the album based on that. Because I think none of them else was like, oh, this is it. This is a mass. We're going to shoot a bit. Nobody saw it like that. But for Fifth, this what he was saying, got to make it heaven and all that. You see the spirituality and all of that. He still was in him. So everybody was like, all right, that's Fifth that he voted that in. And then we mixed that. That was one of the hardest records to mix because, I don't know, man. Megahertz was just different. But Pat did it. He did that. I was in the studio like, yo, I don't know what the you about to do with these drums was loud. I'm like, bro. And he did that. And Fifth killed that.
Let's talk about the bonus cuts. Why were those 3 songs selected as the bonus tracks?
You Not Like Me is a bonus cut, right? Your Life's on the Line is a bonus cut. What's the third bonus cut? Wankster. Wankster's a bonus cut. All picked by Eminem. Your Life's on the Line, 50 and 1 on the album. M wanted it on the album. M loved that record. Wankster was doing so well. 8 Mile soundtrack, they still wanted it to get to his audience with the album. That was a marketing play. That was everybody else saying, put that on the album. You Not Like Me was so hot on the mixtape. When we performed it, that was one of the big records he performed. And I was like, Responder, yo, come here, man. Let me do a deal with you, bro. And I paid him for the track and did some side deal with Red and then he got on the album. It was like an extra bonus track and then just made it. But that was a mixtape record. But everybody was like, yo, look when he performs and look at the response. You gotta use that. And that was just them coming in, Paul and everyone else saying, finish it off. Making this damn near a double album. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we passed 200 whatever hours, or however many hours you could make an album. It was like, we passed it. There's like, nah, we need that. And M, Life's on the Line, he loved that record. And that was him. All him. Those 3 bonuses. Oh, yeah.
Usually Eminem at the time, whatever he would say Interscope was like.
Yeah, it goes.
Yeah.
Nah, we was like, and we wasn't fighting that. It was like, all right, cool. We was over it. Yeah. It's like, yo, this is on. Guess what's bad? We over this shit. Like, for him, he did this like 2 years ago. Em was like, no, nah. And Wankster was going crazy, so Em was like, yo, take it off that. So we just listened. That's where we just had to listen.
There were 48 tracks recorded during the Get Rich or Die Tryin' era. Do you know where all the tracks landed that didn't make it on the album?
Yeah, so out of the 48 records with the extra records, some of them did end up on the 8 Mile soundtrack. Nothing else ended up on Begs for Mercy. And if anything else, it ended up on a mixtape. But nothing that you can say out of those ended up on another album. He either took from it and made another record or took from it and put it on a mixtape. And that's what he did. And the 8 Mile soundtrack with Wanksta and everything else, um, that was pretty much how he balanced it out. And with Fifth, mixtapes were his dominate. Like, he was so dominant in that. So he would put records that belong on the album on a mixtape. And that's where it ended up on.
If Dr. Dre and Eminem weren't involved, how do you think the album would have played out?
If Dre and M wasn't involved, it wouldn't have played out well. Because I learned the whole mixing process, the whole musician process, the whole really, really make everything super solid and have that masterpiece from them. That's what they brought to it. You know what I mean? So, like I said, Poor Little Rich, when we was mixing it alone without them, we didn't like the record after that. So you could make a good record and then go mix it and not like it after that. So you need the right team. So honestly, I couldn't see how this would have went without them. It couldn't. Because Fifth and M is best friends to this day, doing films, doing everything else. Dre leveled up on so many different levels. The music that he was giving us was such a high vibration. He took us to that level where you see Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, the ones he picked are the gems. And the ones that actually came out became the gems. So for us, I couldn't see it being Rough Riders. Like Steve said, go sign a Rough Riders. What the gonna be? The Locks? What are we gonna? What are we doing? How are we gonna do that? Oh, Timberland? What are we doing? Like that ain't him. Even Ayo technology, that shit ain't hit. You know what I'm saying? So certain things wouldn't have worked for Fifth. Dre and M was that was the formula. That's the soup. If this is your favorite soup, this is the ingredients. Keep the same ingredients, and it's going to taste the same every time. It's going to be the hit every time. And that's what Dre, M, with me added and learning from them was the formula of success. And that's what Get Rich did.
Talk to me about single selection. How did you guys decide the singles?
So, single selection, we sitting in Jimmy's room in December. We running through all these records. Chris Clancy, DJ, Proof, M, Paul, Dre, Jimmy, Banks, Yayo, and me. I'm filming this shit. I got some pieces of this content. I'm like just sitting in the room, letting them watch their response to everything. And we run through all these records. And at the end of it, Jimmy was like, what the Like, how y'all about to pick this? And then M, Dre started dissecting. And Fifth was he was riding with what they were with. And then certain records, like I said, Gotta Make It to Heaven, he was like, nah, I need that. You know what I'm saying? And then Life's on the Line, M was like, nah, we need that. So with certain records that someone else voted for more, and their power, because they wanted it, pushed it in. And Dre, of course, I don't think there was a Dre record that we did that didn't make it to the album. I don't remember another Dre record that we did that didn't make it to the album. Everything we did on a Dre record made it out. He's not the type of dude where you just got extra Dre beats and it's not happening. So everything, Dre and Fifth and M only did 2 records, and those only 2 records that came out. So it wasn't like extra Dre or M records. It was extra that we did, but that's where the mixtapes and all of that. And they was like, oh, that's too dark, too dusty, too blah, 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 too hood. Y'all keep doing y'all mixtape. No Mercy, No Fear, God's Plan. You pick some records off of that, you hear it. That's the same energy. And we were able to dissect it. And at the end of that meeting, we all just like, it was like a big celebration, man. And we all picked it. And Fifth was talking shit. Proof. We had a good dinner, sat at the table, sitting next to Dre. Rest in peace, Chris Lighty. It was an awesome day, man. And we picked the whole album. And then at that time, we really was debating on If I Can't. And if you look back, I could actually pull it out, send you an image. There's a vinyl of a single, If I Can't. There's a vinyl. It was a single. And a limited amount of DJs had it, right? And they were going with that first. And immediately, Dre, I don't know what happened, but that call made, and the club is the single. 24 hours, however, they turned it around. DJs got it, flex. That's it. When in the club came out, it was over. Undeniable. If I Can was like, wait, he's on some West Coast shit, but then when the club came, boop, done. They was like, that's the single. That's it. And that was like a group decision from them and all of them. We was cool with both, but the vision came louder and bigger from them bigger ears, man. And they was the ones like, no. And Fifth and everybody was like, yo, let's go. And that was it. Went and shot the video. You know what I'm saying? That video has a story in itself. Suge Knight showing up. So it was good and bad with everything because we had to deal with so much just going through that process, especially when you in LA. LA don't fucking play. So, but we got through it, man, and we made it happen. And that video was legendary. You know, Dr. Dre, M, Fifth working out, the whole everything. You know, dope. The best part about Dre and M is they don't really sample. So with them, you didn't have to worry about it. It was with all of us. And I remember the sample of Many Men took up a lot of, not a lot, but it took up some time and some publishing. But it got cleared. But Barry White one was the biggest one because that was the biggest issue because he was about to pass. Literally last record he cleared. So that was the only record that we had a sampling clearing issue. So for the most part, it was no sample issues besides the Barry White one. That was the only one, pretty much. And anything else is, we just did what we did, man. We put it out.
The album's release was February 6th, 2003. It was originally scheduled to be released on your birthday, February 11th, but it got changed. So talk to us about that.
So, when he first got the release date, and it was February 11th, I couldn't believe it because that's my birthday. So I'm like, yo, this is about to drop on my birthday. This is a blessing. Like, what the But the demand was so crazy, and I don't know, the whole bootleg and the whole leak market, it was extreme at that moment in time. CD releases somehow, the factory gets released, and next thing you know, it's out in the streets. So it got leaked, and they had to release it earlier. And when that new day hit up, it was earlier, but it was still, you know what I mean? Yeah, the Aquarius, you know what I mean? So I knew what it was going to be. And it was going to be a monumental moment. The date was everything, the time, the period where we was at in life. It was all a blessing, man. And it was, I was 26. I turned 26 like few days after his album came out. So that was a game changer, man. For real. Blessing. And that was all a payback for everyone that said, he wasn't going to be shit. And I'm like, look what's happening. Not only is it happening, it's happening on my birthday. I had the biggest birthday party. Missy Elliott was there, 50, everybody, the whole crew, rented out Justin's. We was living life good, man. We was celebrating, man. It was a big deal.
The album gets pushed up because of huge demand. The numbers come back, and in 5 days, it sells 872,000 copies, making it the largest debut and hip-hop album of all time. How did that feel?
Yo, not a lot of artists was selling 872,000 in the first week or period total. So when he did that the first week, I'm like, what the And I'm like, hold on. Something like, I'm happy in the scope, and Shady and Aftermath had them already printed and everything was ready so that they could meet the demand and everything. The belief was there. So everything worked out perfect. There was nothing that got lost, missed out. You know what I mean? Sometimes people don't print enough, have enough, and the turnaround is not fast enough, and then you miss out on sales. Yo, we succeeded, and in the second week it was again, and then everything just started charting, and everything on the album became singles just because people were just picking their favorites. The touring, I mean, that year alone, 2003, I only got to be back home for 20 days the whole year. You know what I'm saying? That's 365 days. I'm only home in New York, see my family for 20 days the whole year. Next year was almost the same thing. We was hitting the road, performing every day. And if we wasn't performing, we was shooting a video off the album. That was the routine. You know what I'm saying? And then once we got to that, we started recording on the road. And that's where everything else started happening outside of the house. We never went back to my house after that. Everything was on the road, or wherever whatever city we was in, we find a studio.
I read that the album was undershipped. Interscope, especially in New York, undershipped it, and they sold out copies immediately there.
You know what's crazy? If it didn't sell a lot, like if they didn't have enough in New York and undershipped, man, the money, I'm still good. So I mean, I ain't dead, man. But hey, they still now we streaming. So everything getting counted for. Every stream, every penny. There's no more bootlegging going on. Even though the streaming numbers ain't the same, but it's still getting calculated, and it's a blessing. So I mean, hey, that's then. But hey, they learned, and then they kept pressing them after, and now we here, succeeded, and we did that. So I ain't tripping. No, yeah, just let's talk about this. In 5 days, 872,000, 5 days, not even a whole week. You know what I'm saying? And it was some bootlegged and all in the streets that was out there where the cheaper people was buying that. You know what I mean? So those numbers ain't even accounted for, and that's just. And if you talk about the undershipment, imagine what that number looked like. So he went platinum the first week. Let's just say that.
And in the second week of sales, it was 822,000. And in the history of music, that was never done before, where the second week almost matched the first week sales. There was no drop.
So when the second week hit and the number was like 10% different, 850 or 840, whatever, we was like, what the and you know, hey, like the second week we still doing the same number. He recouped the same month the album came out. He didn't owe them nothing. After that, he started making money. You know how many artists take over 15 years just to recoup on one album? You know how many albums I work with that I know still are unrecouped? That shit recouped the same year, the same month. Crazy, man. Crazy. Unheard of, man. Unheard of. For real.
Shit. In the green since the release.
In the green since the release, man.
That is crazy.
Got rich. He died trying, though. But we got it, you know what I mean? Nah, we got rich. That's it.
Talk about the industry reception, the competition, and your phone probably didn't stop ringing after the major success.
After the release, it was amazing. You know, I got tight with a few artists, Busta Rhymes and people that I could relate to because, you know, being with 50 was like being in Cuba. Like, we couldn't really deal with other places in the world. Like, you know, so, you know, I couldn't really be friends with people he didn't with and had to lose people because he didn't with them. And, you know, there's this one phrase Fifth told me that always stuck with me, man. And it was like, I bet on you and you bet on a head. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I had to keep the circle small because he was real particular of everyone I brought around, which was a lot of people from Shadyville. Even to this day, you look back, you know, my homies came through, you know, Ace and Slow and everybody. And, you know, some of them came through and did their thing. And, you know, everybody came together, but Fifth was real particular with a lot of people. You know what I mean? So I just had to be careful. You know what I'm saying? So.
On our Zoom call, you talked about your first royalty check from the Get Rich or Die Trying album. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm 26 years old. Album comes out in February. First royalty check, end of September, early October. I get that in the mail. This is not no, you know, AHCH batch or whatever wire. This is like a check. So I'm at my mom's crib and I go to the mailbox. I see my name on the open the joint up, and boom, I open that joint. 700,000, yo. I'm 26 years old. Album recoup, like I said, the same year. I did not expect that to be like that, like that. So, yo, I don't know what the happened, but not within an hour, 50 calls me. And he's like, he probably got his right there. Like, so he like, hold on a second, who else got a check today? So he calling and see, he knows Shy got a check. You know what I'm saying? So he called me like, yo, Shy, what up, bro? I'm like, yo, son, I'm a motherfucking millionaire. Like, yo, yo, I had like 300 and change in the bank already from what we was doing. Did a pub deal and all of that type going. So I was going up, and then that came in. I'm like, yo, bro, I'm a motherfucking millionaire. That heard that shit. What? He was like, I said, how much you got? Like $6.6 million. Crazy. Like, I'm like, what, bro? What the? Man, game changer, man. That was the first royalty check. So that's where, you know what I'm saying? You know everything is done right. Shout out to Shady Aftermath, Interscope, all of that. You know what I'm saying? So, and that just kept running up, and it just kept going. And we just, from that moment on, I was like, now we in the game, man. Now we in the game. And that's what all hard work paid off, and the dedication, the loyalty, all of that for me. Like I seen that, I knew that. I did the work. I did more than one job, wear mad hats from producing, mixing, engineering, managing, all of that, videography and all of that. Was doing everything and anything, connecting the dots, lawyer, Chris, whatever it took to make it where we got the right team and the right going, and did it. And Fifth did it professional from day one, and that game changer from that first royalty after that. Shout out to Fifth. I believed and we achieved.
Did getting a crazy royalty check like that for your first time kind of spoil you for what to expect in the future?
So getting that first thing, it didn't spoil me because it just opened my eyes to know that, damn, this is what we did and this is what we got back, and this is what, it's perpetual money, and this is where you're going to go in life, and you want to repeat it. So as I started producing for other albums, of course they wasn't selling 10 million, and selling as 50 was the biggest. He broke records, you know what I'm saying? So you get to other albums that you did and I produce on, and then you 5 years later and you still ain't get a royalty check. You still getting a statement though, and you seeing that negative such and such, negative such and such. They don't recoup. So you be like waiting years, and 10 years down the line, then you see that. Or then you see another one you doing, it dude is hot and he come like Mac Miller, and then that pop up within a few years, like a year or two, like, you know what I'm saying? Tupac, bang, you know what I mean? So it depends on who the artist is and how the deal is and how much they have backed up and what they owe the label, because some of that pans from other albums that add on to the new album, and their recoupment is not only what you got to pay them back, it's also the they owe from another album that they had to. So it's just fucked up. And then let's talk about this. A lot of producers, a lot of executive producers, people that don't have, and I know Fifth put a story out, but I got my point. It's a blessing. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't have that, and they don't have that point as a producer, or even if they did, they don't even have a copy of the contract because it was done back in the days. They didn't keep it from the lawyer. They don't even have the royalty statements coming to their crib, whether it's non-recoup or recoup. So after it's recouped, it could be 20 years down the line. You forgot about that, but your money's sitting. It's not coming to you. The statement never came to you, but it's sitting. But in hip-hop and music business, there's no comptroller. They don't have to report that to the public. That money stays in the system. So your money's never given to you, and you don't know how to collect it because you never handle your business. There's more sides than just making the beat. You got to handle your business. So for me, my journey from that day was also to remember, always follow up with, did that busted. Hold on, let me call to make sure I get my statement. I just moved. That going to your lawyer office, this motherfucker getting your shit. He could even put that shit in the bank. There's so much shit that can happen, but people don't talk about this. You know what I'm saying? So that taught me so much that I took care of my business. And then I'll be talking to producers. I'm like, yo, you getting your money though, right? They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yo, get your fucking money, bro. They don't even know. They don't even know. You get your royalty after the shit. Cool, man. That's what you put this work in for. But for me, that's a business in itself. So I'm on it. And I ain't playing. And I ain't selling my shit, so don't call me. You can't, if you live in New York or whatever city you live in, you could go on your city comptroller, put in your last name, put in that. You're going to see some pop up. If you close the bank account at Chase, have money in it, never collected it, it's got to be reported. They have to, everything has to do that report. In this music business, they don't have to do that. So when you got the CEO of Sony Music making $100 million, you know what I'm saying, as a bonus, it's because that money's sitting there. It's going back, you know what I mean? So it's not cool, man. It's a lot of money that's being made in this, and it's not being shared. So that money got to be collected, and people got to go after their money or handle their business and not just make the music. You know what I mean? Because just like Spotify and everything else, that guy originally was like, nah, we're going to just use the music. We don't got to pay them. He never really thought that he had to pay the people. But we make the music. We got to get paid.
That's the most important part.
You know what I'm saying? That part. We got to get paid.
Do labels do the updates on the RA certifications?
So they do the updates, but if you're not in connection with them, it's not easy to get the information. You would have to either have to be able to log on and get that information yourself, or pursue it. For me, I just get the numbers in my statements and all of that. The certification, once we got to 10 million, I stopped counting. So I just knew we just did some thriller, you know what I mean? So for me, it was like, all right, money's still coming in, let's go. So for me, it's, certification don't matter, the check matters, you know what I mean? That's where I'm at, that part.
Talk to me about what you are doing now after the success of Get Rich or Die Trying.
After the album dropped, you know, we were immediately on tour. I started learning how to book tours, buses with studios on it. So one year, one tour, we had Pharrell's bus, which was fire, ill studio in the back. First year, we had Juvie. It was kind of hood, but we made it work because Pat didn't like the recording because the generator you could hear it was right under there. So it was like certain things with engineers that mattered with the recording process, but we had to get music done. So, you know, for me, I was a, I was a manager for 50. Chris was the business manager in sense at the meetings. But when we're in the road in the field, I was with Fifth every day. So we were going from city to city, state to state, and I had to focus on that. Taking a big MPC with you everywhere, after a while, and having to plug speakers in, it wasn't something I could do every day because I had to go do mic checks and all of that. So you couldn't create as much. So for me, it was like, shit, I can't make beats because I'm so busy. So immediately, I knew I had to start getting producers like I did with the album that I could with, where I could actually manage them, bring them in, bring some heat from them that I could with their sound. And Black Jerus, Chad Beats, Illmind, Jake One, you know, Jay Hen from so many different producers, Kanai Finch, that came up under me that were talented and they just had no outlets. And I didn't judge them. They could have nothing, and I just knew that their talent was there. And I didn't, even when I gave 50 the beat, it didn't have their name on it. It just had the beat CD. And he just wanted to hear good music. So I would just pile him with the good music from everyone I knew that I was with. And that became money management. And that became the foundation to lay all the other albums that were coming. And if and then other people started coming in. I didn't have to manage everybody but it was my squad and then other guys that were bringing beats in that had hot. We would take from everyone. So for me, I had multiple duties and tasks, and I couldn't create it. So I used my brain to create a management company where the creation was still happening. And then from there, Jimmy was like, hey, y'all about to give me this G Unit album. Hey, here, let's do this G Unit label. So 50, boom, here we go. And now it's, Fifth's like, you're going to be the president. So that's another job. A whole nother job. Looking at the whole, we got to find an office. We got to set up the whole, this the yearly payment. This was coming in. This is what we're going to spend for that. And hire this employee, get our own promo team. You know what I mean? Get our own radio dude, get everything together. We had to start doing that from scratch. And me, as I know, being in the industry, picking certain people I with, and then they all came in, Fifth with them. He approved it. Some people he brought in, and we brought in the whole G in the team, and we created this. Fifth had people from Colombia that he brought in, and that he worked with since then, and still appreciated them. Brought them in, everybody, and we both contributed to the team, and then it became a label. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm a producer, I'm a manager, I'm the president, co-founder of G Unit Records. Things is rolling. We getting busy as Chris Lighty, like I said, is handling all the big meetings and putting together the things like vitamin water and I started making moves as a manager based on relationships, and I started learning like, I could be like a Chris Lighty because boom, once again, Steve Stout, he calls me, yo, how can I get 50 to wear these S. Dot sneakers? put this G-Unit logo on it, bro. He'll wear it. Boom. A box come back. We on tour. I think we in Phoenix or somewhere. Whole bunch of S-Dots come back. The tongue got 50 name on it. Right on the heel. G-Unit. Fifth saw that. He was like, what? He wore that to his shows. Crowd went crazy. This before going crazy online, but just started trending. Everybody talking about it. People was going crazy. Reebok. Next thing you know, we on a. So I'm now doing deals that I don't, just through relationships and things that happen and connections come together. Chris Lighty jump in. He do the bigger part. Go sit with the corporate. We flying on helicopters, getting to the meeting. Fifth do his part. Bang! He's selling more sneakers than athletes. You know what I'm saying? So I know that I'm moving more now. I'm an executive. So for me, I'm moving in a place where I just want to get things done. Because if I can't create it, I'm going to find a creator. So now I'm like, all right, what's next? You know what I'm saying? And it came to a point where, for Fifth, he's a different kind of dude. So he started counting money. I brought a Ferrari one time. He was like, yo, Shy, you making too much money, man. And that was the day that I remember because I was an all hip hop party and everybody was there. And I pulled up in this Ferrari. I was wilding, you know what I'm saying? I just, I had Matchboxes as a kid, little hot, Hot Wheels and shit. So you want a hot car, man. So here I am pulling up. Fifth get the call. But in my hood, it's different. And I'm seeing it even now today. The hater is more stronger than the love. So a lot of people calling him, yo, Shy, pull up in a Ferrari. So he get angry too. Like, yo, Shy, what you doing driving a Ferrari? Yo, son, I'm just making some money, bro. He's like, yo, bro, I ain't even got a Ferrari yet. So he mad at me because I'm on my shit. So that's when I learned you can't outshine the master. Because I was reading the 48 Laws of Power, you know what I'm saying? So that shit offended him, you know what I'm saying? And as I started realizing that book and all of that shit, we'll talk about that soon too. But that's where the decline and the separation started, where he was like, you doing too much. When we was broke, I could be the engineer. It could be my house. I could pay the electric bill. We could do it all. But when it started getting to the money part, then you start counting, oh, he making money from this, making money. So everybody, it came into a little way. So that's when, as I kept putting out albums, all the albums that came out in the G Unit came out while I was there. The last album I dropped was Buck's album, Buck the World. And right after that, 50 didn't even call me. My business manager called me and said, Fifth, don't want you to be the president of Label One. That's where it changed. Let's talk about power, the word power. Let's start with the book 48 Laws of Power, right? Robert Greene. So back in when we was in my basement, I started reading books, self-help books. Someone told me that's how you're going to, be able to think deep, fast, past where you at right now and elevate where you need to go. So that was a book I picked up. And so I started reading it, and the book was interesting. And like I told you, never outshine the master. That was an issue that I had. But then I felt like the book was just giving me some insights that I didn't look at it in the perspectives, right? So after I finished reading it, I was like, yo, Fifth, this book right here is fire, bro. Like, you might need to, where he was at, I knew he could take that. And when he took that book, he literally read that in and out. And with me, back then, I would read books, take to it, I wouldn't act on it. This motherfucker started acting on the shit he was taking in. I'm like, yo, we went from partners, I went to an employee, all kind of shit started, like, I'm like, yo, this motherfucker mind is ill. Because he really knew how to do that. And then later on, fast forward, he meets Robert Greene and the 50th Law of Power. So they create a book together. And even though I had nothing to do with none of that, originally seed was planted through what I gave him with that book. So look at all his power this, power that, 48 laws of power, 50, everything is power. You know what I'm saying? And it's mine, you know what I mean? So he got a strong mind, you know what I'm saying? In that book, he really took that level. For me, it was like I was more religion based, so I knew I couldn't take to all of that. And some of that was a little darker than normal. So I had to kind of not actually act on it because I don't want to be an evil person in this industry, you know what I'm saying? So it was hard for me to move on how he moved on it. Not saying that he's that, but it's just he knew how to move accurately on those laws, and he did that.
Book is like the way the act on it is definitely not the thing that you want to do.
No, you don't.
I think
but just to know
knowledge of it.
Yeah, that this king did that, this person did that, this is how they did that, this is how they conquered this.
The history is ridiculous.
It's nuts.
Examples, you can't beat history.
No.
Somebody doing it.
No.
And then running into those issues. So with never outshine the master, you feel that's kind of where the situation with 50, he wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, that's the law that took me out.
Yeah, even with 50 and M.
That's the law that took me out because we fought off a percentage of me owning G Unit, and he didn't want to give that up. So, and that became a tension point, and that's where we broke. But at that point, we dropped all those albums, and I made so much money. I didn't want to leave early, so I hanged on as long as I could. But Fifth got a ticking time, and like when I get to the 10, one body gonna drop, another 5, somebody going. So it started going. First it was Game, then it became, so eventually it was me. He just do that. That's how he moved. So I couldn't hold on as long as I tried to, but I still got love for him. But that's just what we went through at that time. So it's not beef. It's just the way business sometimes it don't work out. That's how I take it now. You know what I mean?
With you being a producer at the core, talk to us about all the projects you've produced for over the years.
So, my original base coming into this industry is being a producer. So as I got busy, I was less creative. Every time I had a little break, I go to Arizona, certain places, lock out, just create. So I have a few beats for each year. So I will have placements, one on Banks album, one on Buck album, 2 on Banks album, 1 on Yayo album, 1 on Fifth, 1 on the soundtrack, and then I'll have my other crew surrounding that. So that's how I planted the seeds. But after I started slowing down and not being the president no more, I started wanting to create and do things for other people. Therefore comes the Busta Rhymes Stevie Wonder record. One of our biggest records where Stevie Wonder is not singing on no hip hop at all, but here Busta Rhymes get him on a hook. The hook is a classic. The song is a classic. Busta, what he talking about is the whole Dre coming in, mixing it, adding the orchestra to it, being able to work with Dre on that level, my name standing next to Dre on credits, you know what I'm saying? My name standing next to M. And then we get into points where it's like, all right, yo, Snoop Dogg, you know what I'm saying? I produced with Snoop on 2 albums, you know what I mean? And then we continue to work. I will go to Tampa, meet him here on the road, work with him. Got this record with him and Jeezy that never came out. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got records with Snoop, more than one, more like 3 records, 4 records, and then we kept creating DPG Unit, and then we went even further, and I'm like working with Dre again. He had this new artist, Slim the Mobster, so I'm in the studio with Dre doing some shit that for some Cali shit and bit back vibing with Dre like I love to, and then it just goes from West Coast and then it goes back to the South. I get Crit, I get 2 Chainz, and then I'm working with Mac Miller. That was one of the best studio sessions as a producer. This is not A&R. This is just me sitting in the studio after Kelly and Chris hit me up. Shout out to them. And was like, Mac, they manage him now. Sha, I heard you live in Cali. I'm in Malibu. He's like right there. I'm like, yo, tell me, I'll go pull up. I'll go to his crib, bring my computer, and 100 Grandkids. You know what I'm saying? One of the biggest classics. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, other records I did co-production with, half production, records with other producers, Magic Stick, you know what I mean? All the records that was my core. You know what I mean? And producing, then I just wanted to keep going. So I just kept going. Tupac, I got a call from his estate, and they loved everything I was doing with G-Unit. And I was still in G-Unit at this time, and I was actually exiting. And the head lady of the trust, she came with security, she came with an engineer, everything. We locked in the studio. I was there for one day just to make like 1 or 2 records. She loved how I worked, got done. I ended up doing 5 records on one of Tupac's biggest selling albums. It's one of the biggest blessings for my career. You know what I'm saying? And then it just kept going. Juvenile. I went back to Juvenile. I did title track to his album. Juvenile's the Great. You know what I'm saying? With my boy. You know what I mean? So it's like Black Jerus, Chad. I had other people I created with that brought to the table, and we was able to just spread it out, man. And that's what I love doing as a creative to this day. And that's what I still do. And that's my passion, is making music. More than anything, the industry sucks, the business, the people, they change, all of that. But I'm always make music. That's not going to stop.
Now let's talk about the other side of things, and that's your role as an executive to different record labels and helping artists' careers.
2007, after that call with Fifth, I kept managing Buck, tried to keep my relationship, even though me and Fifth parted ways in the deal. I still had to deal with him for Buck because Buck still wanted me to manage him. But Banks and Yayo, they kind of like, nah, we got to run with the big homie, so they kind of had to cut me off. That's where, people had to choose sides, and I started seeing, this ain't friendship, this is still business, you know what I mean? And even though they was a family, niggas heartbroken, like, this is the fam, but they had to cut some ties on certain because Fifth one was fuck with it, they couldn't fuck with it, so we had to, that caused a little tension, but, I had to just accept, right? So, I continued to manage Buck, and then, even Buck had his situation with Fifth. I was the one that was the mediator between that. Fortunately, Fifth recorded it. You know what I mean? Because that was the day I heard Buck crying and, and Buck told me when he came out of the car because we was in the studio. He was like, "Yo, Fifth was crying on the phone." I said, "Yo, Fifth don't cry, bro. What the fuck you mean Fifth crying?" He said, "Yo, Fifth cried on the phone to me, bro." I'm like, "Yo, Fifth don't cry, bro. What do you talk?" I'm happy he recorded that because that is him crying. You know what I'm saying? But he came and told me like, "Yo, but we good now." I'm like, "You cried to this, bro. Fuck out of here, bro." So that happened like that. But hey, I still was able to communicate with son, right? But then after a while, he get on his and then you just had to fall back. Eventually, I came back and did before I self destruct, thanks to Paul and Dr. Dre, who wanted me to come back and do what I do and work with them. And we tried that again. We did that, but it wasn't me as an exec or nothing like that. Just coming back, supplying the music, and being there to help them get these songs done, which we did. So after that, I was like, all right, what's next? Because I love this exec. Like I love signing artists. I love finding talent. I love letting the world know I know something's hotter before you. And by the time you know, it's going to be 2 years later, probably three, and then you're going to be like, oh, he was right. But I got to keep doing this because y'all don't know. But we going to do this. So where can I do this? So, coincidentally, even on some respect, shout out to KP, Kawan Prowler. He was like in a room with L.A. Reid. They were working at Def Jam. Rest in peace, Shakir. He passed away, and it was like time when they were trying to figure out some new things to do at Def Jam. And L.A. was looking for more execs, and more so not guys he all knew. And KP had mentioned me at the table. And then him and Al Branch called me and said, what I'm saying, you should, come meet with L.A. Reid. And that's when everyone knew that I parted ways with G Unit. And I said, hell yeah, I'll do that. So I was living in Arizona. I came to New York. And I called Chris Lighty. It's like, yo, I got a meeting with L.A. Reid. Can you come just so you could co-sign me with him so he know I'm, you know what I mean? Chris was an OG. So he came. And we sat in a room, me, L.A. Reid, and Chris. Chris shouted me out, gave me the blessing. L.A. Reid with me. And he hired me to be senior vice president A&R for Def Jam. That's how that word up. Shout out to L.A. Reid. Rest in peace, Chris Lighty. Thank you, bro. Word up.
Talk to us about your work at Def Jam and what your role was over there.
So when I got to Def Jam, it was different. L.A. Reid, the whole corporate structure, it was fly. It was dope. It was classy. You know what I'm saying? I come from the hood shit, like, you know what I mean? Walmart, like, we was on some hood shit, like, Fifth, but L.A. Reid was a whole nother elevation. We having Philippe Childs every Wednesday for lunch and at staff meetings. You know what I mean? His whole level, motherfucker was fly guy, man. So I'm like, oh, this is different. All right, boom. So now, all right, what I'm gonna do? So I'm looking. I'm trying to. But even before I signed my contract, I was chilling with my boy Johnny Shipes, and we used to just be in his apartment chilling and listening to music, smoking, kicking it. And one day he played me this mixtape, and it was Big Crit, right? So I'm like, yo, bro, I'm about to do something. I can't tell you, but yo, this kid is dope, bro. Who is this? He was like, yo, he was playing me that. Then he was like, yo, I'm gonna play Nipsey Hussle's group, Slauson Boys, right? So he played me both, right? I was like, no, play that Crit again, though, bro, right? And this is crazy, because Nipsey was already signed to Epic, but he had his crew he was trying to get on. I took to Crit more, right? And when I heard Crit, it's just like, yo, this is different. It's like, yo, this is fire, right? And let me tell you the backstory of why I took the Crit. Because right before I left G Unit, I tried to sign J. Cole there, right? And J. Cole was amazing to me because even though everyone, to me, it was like he was from Queens, he's from the South, North Carolina. But he's a producer and he's a rapper and he had this Southern draw and he had this New York, right? So after I couldn't get him, I was on this search for this other artist that could be in that light. So when Shipes was like, he raps, he did the beats, I'm like, yo, this is it. So I was taking like, this is the same pantheon. Like these are this, they could be like boom, right? J. Cole was already doing this thing. I couldn't get that. So boom. I met with Crit and then we just kicked it. And then a month later I signed my deal with Def Jam. And then a month later I signed Crit to Def Jam. That was my first signing. I signed him a month after I started. And it took some time, and me and Shipes and Steve O and Dutch, we all came together and we built it up. And Crit he's a legend to this day, man. And after that, you know, L.A. Reid was like, he just like let me sign him because he didn't see the big picture, but he trusted me. And that's what I appreciated him. He's like, go ahead, Shy, you could do that. So I did that. That was hitting a mark for the underground. But I knew I needed something above ground, right? So as I'm in Atlanta with Crit, he moved to Atlanta, so I'm all the way down there. I always need weed, right? So my weed guy was Titty Boy. That's who I called for weed every time I was in Atlanta. So this one time I'm in the studio, 111th Street, some studio, some shit, right? I think Don Cannon and them own that shit. And then I'm with this Def Jam song camp at Lenny S. Everybody there. We have people coming in and out. I need some weed. I called Titty out. He was Titty Boy, right? Before he was 2 Chainz. He pull up in a Porsche. I'm like, yo, bro, you chilling, bro? I'm like, yo, this thing was like, he was chilling. He came out, duffel bag, like he was on some shit. I'm like, yo, bro, what's up? He's like, I just dropped this new mixtape. Check this shit out. And he gave it to me, bro. And the record just on that shortly after took off. As I heard it before it took off and heard that mixtape, I went back to New York and I went to Def Jam and I was like, I want to sign this. I want to sign 2 Chainz. And it was like, wait a second, isn't he already signed? It's like, no, he's with DTP. He's got to, but he's not here, but he's, so let's figure this out, please. So immediately I'm like, who's his lawyer? Fast forward, who's his lawyer? Who was my first lawyer? It wasn't my lawyer at that time, but it was my first lawyer. It was the one I brought to Theo Sutherland. So I was able to communicate with Theo. I was able to talk to Tech and build a relationship with Tech, who was 2 Chainz manager, who is 2 Chainz manager. Me and 2 Chainz kept in touch, and we was able, out of just vibes and him to feel it, and then Kanye West started trying, and then it was all Def Jam, but I was able to seal that. Barry Weiss, they all came together, said, go ahead. 2 Chainz was happy, came to New York, signed a deal based on a true story. Classic. And before that, Def Jam was quiet because Jay-Z left. Jay Brown, Rock Nation left. Todd, it wasn't the same vibes. There was hashtag Def Jam back. After 2 Chainz dropped, Def Jam was back. He brought back the energy. Everything started getting better. It was starting to move, you know what I mean? And that was a big moment for me because that sold. And he had the Kanye on it. He had everything popping on that. So, and I sat through them sessions. He would be tripping on me because he had me in the trap, bro. This thing was rapping in the trap for real. Like, this was wilding, and then I would fall asleep on the couch with him running in and out with Jewel on. He's like, yo, you ain't scared? I said, nah, I'm tired. It's 4 in the morning. This thing walking all night. Like, 5th stop at 9 o'clock. This thing start at 9 o'clock, man. So his whole schedule was different. I had to get used to him, his whole system, but that was a good experience, man. And his took off, had the Drake single. That's when I met Mike Will, made it, and I was like, yo, this whole Atlanta about to change the game. So I started just more in the South, from Crit to him, was working with Kid, and just started taking to the Southern artists and just like, yo, New York is quiet right now. So I'm going to get ahead and get some of this right popping. And that's what I did, and 2 Chainz took off. And that was my biggest signing. And I got all my money. I mean, not all my money. I made Def Jam a lot of money for that, and everybody got paid. Everybody got good. DTP got their money. Everybody got their bread. 2 Chainz is straight, killing it. And salute to him and Tech. And that was a success story for me. And L.A. Reid called me, and he was like, see, he left. He left. He was going on TV, being a judge on TV. Then he went to Epic. He said, "See, you did what I asked you to do, but you did it for them. But he was an animal, so you got to come do it for me." So I was still on contract, but he was like, "Yo, come meet with me." And he was like, "When your contract in?" I was like, "Next such and such May." He was like, "All right, as soon as it's up, I want you to become the VP of A&R for Epic Records and do what you did there. Come do it here." I said, "All right," because he was the one that brought me there. So my loyalty was to the people that really with me, believed in me, and believed that he didn't. He let me sign what I wanted to, do what I wanted to, and then eventually I even made the money back with 2 Chainz. He saw that, and then we just kept going. And then I came there, and it was over. So much happened, and then it just got crazy. And I just want to say, like, after, I'm happy that I joined L.A. Reid because for me it was like he's a legend, L.A. Reid. So working with him and being able to go to Def Jam and continue on after leaving G Unit, still being able to sign artists. I took a L because Bobby got arrested and I signed him, but at the same time, Yo Gotti was a success. Travis Scott, Alfaro, I was the one, even though I didn't sign him, I got that album done, packaged, and released so he can blow up and take it to that level when no one else could get that done. No one on his team from Grand Hustle to the A&R from Epic. I went to the studio and got that out of him. You know what I'm saying? And that was on my time to meet with him and also know that, yeah, all right, I'm good, man. This kid is nuts, bro. But, yo, we delivered. But that's the job. Yeah, I don't work with people like Sean that pissed off 50. But because I work for the label, I got to do the work. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to piss off people and do things you don't want to do, but it's your job, right? So certain things with Bobby wasn't a part of my job, but they made it my job. Like me being a social worker, asking the artist, "You got any priors? You have any cases?" Before I sign them, I don't ask these questions. I see a street, I'm like, he gonna get out the street and go. He gonna take his hood with him. That's what we do. That's what we in this for. But they want me to do the other whole shit. Yo, you got a case pending or you got anything about to happen in your life? I'm not doing that. So with Bobby, I just saw a kid that was from the street. I didn't know he just whatever the going on. I signed him because of it. Same with Fifth, a real motherfucker coming from the hood. You want to help him and his tribe get out of the hood. That's what we do. And with that turned on me. After he got arrested, I got fired. So as an A&R, as a person that joined corporate structure, that's corny, you know what I'm saying? And I had to take a L, but guess what? No one cares. So for me, it was like, all right, goodbye. Let me just fuck this from the outside and do what I do because this industry, on that time, you can't, when you with G Unit, we Fifth will go bail you out. You Death Row, Sugar go get you out. When I'm at a corporate label, you ain't getting out and I'm getting the fuck out. So what is that? There's 2 losses. So for me, it's like that me out for a minute, went on, started managing Joyner Lucas, got him to a place where he can go. He went on and continued to do his thing. And then I just kept looking for new talent. That's my love. That's my passion. What's new, what's hot, no matter what city, Midwest, Boston, South, Cali, I'm gonna cover the ground, you know what I'm saying? I'll be in London soon, you're England, wherever, like let's get it. So, but I'm all about talent finding and working with them and getting them there. And this industry, it could tamper with that because you got to follow certain protocols, and that whole A&R structure is whack now. They ain't finding new talent before a blow. They waiting. They all researchers finding shit based on numbers going up. Ain't nobody signing something like how everybody said Fifth wasn't gonna be. I'm telling them nobody's doing that no more. Betting on before it happened and even wanting to get in risk of danger to get to that point. Everybody's saying, let's find all these drill rappers from Brooklyn because that's the trend and that's what we're going to sign. But they're not finding talent. So that's the music industry right now.
Talk to us about what you're doing in the present day with your career.
In the present day, based on how things worked out for me at Epic, I never went back to a label to be an A&R. The structure, how that happened with Bobby getting arrested, it kind of pissed me off, and I just like, I'm gonna take a break from that and just stay working with new artists, producing, stay creative, and just kept finding new artists. For me, it's all about elevation. I done did all the street, the hood shit. I done gave that vibration. Now I'm giving a new frequency, and it's positive vibrations, and that's what I want to put into this game. And because I knew that with 50 we done probably, but a lot of positive outcome came from it. But then there was some motherfuckers driving around doing some wild shit listening to it too. So you want to be able to balance the vibrations you put out in the universe, and I think that this is me doing that once again, like we did with Crit and other artists that I signed that just send out those frequencies like Reflection Eternal that the world need to hear in hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
What's your favorite thing about the whole creative process?
My whole favorite thing is actually if I'm making the beat, just having that from the skeleton to hearing the artist create that song on top of it, then taking those vocals, me start preparing the song, pre-mixing it, getting with one of my top engineers, and then we mixed it, and then having that whole making. I'm all about creating. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's all about having a product. I can hand you a product. I'm not a talker. I'm an actual creator. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's all about like, yo, let's sit in here and turn nothing into something. So we walk out of here, we'll have a song, and then we could turn into millionaires off of what we just did in here. I'm all about that. That's amazing. So for me, that's the best process. The whole business and industry and politics and friends and fake shit and bet on you and you bet on a kid. I bet on too many kids, man. I bet on some losers, man. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of rappers I bet on, they all won, man. You know what I'm saying? But the rest of this industry could be some crackheads.
That's a wild quote.
That's what he said, man. I bet on you, you bet on the crackhead, man.
I got one more question.
Let's go.
If 50 was in the room right now, you guys finally chatted, what would you say?
I'm gonna tell him, yo, man. What's up, homie? What's up, bro? What you mad at? It's a blessing, you know what I'm saying? Like, certain people come in your life, you know what I'm saying? You got to understand that's a blessing, man. So, you know, I think he's seen it so many different ways with people that came in his life and did this and did that. I didn't come to take. I came to give, and I gave to him. You know what I'm saying? And that is where he created his foundation and was able to keep building from there. So for me, I'm proud of who he is, and I knew he was gonna be that. So I'm gonna walk into that room just waiting to see what his energy is. And you know, if it's unexpected, I walked into rooms with him and had the slap box on first meetings just because he wanted to see how level street you are. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's just, I'll be happy to see him. You know what I mean? Because I don't have beef with him. We just went through some shit that everybody go through in this business, but we got to learn as brothers. We can't take a legendary story and fumble it and make it only where you're the legend. You had people that contributed to it. Everyone has contributors that actually build to the greatness. And whether we workers or whatever you want to call it, we all supplied to what was needed on that frequency and level that is needed to be on. And you just got to respect us. Don't kill the name. You know what I'm saying? Build the character. Let's all win. So they know I ain't no, you work with me, we going to make some magic. You know what I mean? So I want people to know that, and I want Fifth to know that. That's all we did. We did some historic shit. And now let's just move on, bro. We good. I'm good, you good. I ain't broke, you ain't broke. We good. I wasn't here to take. We did that together. We made it. You know what I'm saying? I gave that. So that's all. We good.
Perfect.
If you want to see this full interview without having to wait, you can join our YouTube memberships program for just $8 a month. You get the full interview, behind the scenes footage, and no ads. If you want more, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/diverse mentality. And for $10 a month, you can not only get these full interviews immediately, but also get uncut and ad-free documentaries as well. The link is in the description for both.